This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
I'm going to hold it one day, just for like a whole minute.
The reverse pregnant pause, because like some podcasters will do that, where they'll drop it and just do that for as long as possible to make you pick up the phone. With you, it's just, I'm going to hold this as long as possible.
Pick up the phone.
Like,
Check
basically,
to see, like, did it pause? Did it stop playing?
Oh,
lose
no.
data?
I'm going to do that one of these days. Is just stop and just try to hold it out for as long as one of us can take it.
Okay.
Until it breaks.
All right, I'll figure that. I mean, I'm glad you're letting us know now.
Yeah.
So now, like, come NBA season, we'll actually be able to be prepared for it. Anyways, we are starting our massively successful, highly rated, critics love it, positional rankings. This is the now fourth year?
It's pretty incredible.
We've done it since 2016.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so 2016, 2017,
Yeah,
2018,
yeah, and if you
2019.
That's how math works.
This is now the fourth annual positional rankings here on the Fast Break Podcast. They might be wrong, and we are also wrong.
They're literally controversy-free.
Everything's
like,
wrong.
everyone just agrees with us. It's,
Yes.
it's the most peaceful and quiet comment section I've ever seen in my life.
Not only do they disagree with the actual ranking of the players that are in the starting lineup, they also just disagree with the position of where we put them.
Correct.
So it's great. It's so accurate. It's so great. It's the best thing ever in the world.
Yep.
So you are getting hard, cold truth facts here. And if you have any complaints, which you won't, obviously let us know either on Twitter at MostValuePod or let us know down in the comments below. And before we get into all that, if you do want to support this factful, hard-hitting, truthful, on-the-nose podcasting, check us out on patreon.com/MostValuePodcast. You might disagree with some of the stuff that we have here, but we did try our best, and we do try our best to give out a great product each and every week. So if you do want to support us, check us out at patreon.com/MostValuePodcast. We got a bronze tier, a silver tier, and a gold tier, and that gold tier allows you to be on a podcast. And if you disagree with some of the stuff that we do stick to, and we aren't going to crumble on, we'll talk to you about it. We'll have a discussion about it, and it'll be a fun time. But anyways, let's jump into it, and we're going to do it a little bit different than we have done it in the past 3 years. We are going to kind of do it a little mock draft style. I'm going to go to Ricky. He's going to give his 21 through 30. I'm going to go to Dave. He's going to give his 21 through 30. I'm going to give my 21 through 30, and then we'll give the cumulative 21 through 30. And since this is the first at least episode of this style, and this is the actual intro, we'll at least tell you guys how we did it. We're going to break it up into 3 segments. We'll give our 21 through 30 starting point guards in the NBA, 1 from each team. Then we'll give our 11 through 20 starting point guards, 1 from each team. And then 1 through 10 starting point guards in the NBA, 1 from each team. Obviously, we all did one. Me, Dave, and Ricky all did a positional ranking of this variety. So we'll all have different spots for these guys, and each spot was assigned a number. So if you were the 30th worst point guard, or we think you're the 30th worst starting point guard in the league, you got a value of 1. And it goes up by 1 when it goes up the ladder. So 25, it gets 6 points. Number 1 spot gets 30 points. The second spot gets 29 points. And then all those points that you get for the position ranking that you were given, you get tallied up. So let's say the number 1 guy, if he was the unanimous number 1 guy, he gets a total of 90 points. I think I fairly explained it decently.
It's pretty good.
If you were number 1 on 2 spots and then 2 on 1 spot, you get 89 because you got 30, 30, and 29. And obviously, we then put that in order, and that's our ranking. And let's jump into it. Ricky, 21 through 30.
Well, starting off at number 30, I'm sorry, Ish Smith. I mean, I want to love you,
It's my
but
boy.
Somebody has to come in last, and Ish Smith for the Pistons will do that. Then at 29, DeLon Wright of the Toronto Raptors, the NBA champions. Is
So
it?
wrong.
No,
Not
Memphis Grizzlies.
Swing and a
I'm
miss.
gonna,
So wrong.
I'm going to mess this
Those
up.
are teams he has played for.
Down here.
Those are teams he
He
played
is
for.
a Dallas Maverick.
Dallas Maverick, DeLon Wright. Jeff Teague of the Timberwolves, remember that one. Then I don't know if I have him too high. Maybe this is Bulls homerism coming out. Chris
is.
Dunn at 27. Terry Rozier of the
Boston
Charlotte
Celtics.
Hornets. I know that one. Is now at 26. Orlando Magic point guard DJ Augustine.
Of the Texas Longhorns.
Texas Longhorns at 25. DeJounte Murray coming back off of his injury at 24. Justice Winslow of the Miami Heat at 23. Eric Bledsoe
Phoenix
at
Suns.
22, and then Dennis Smith in the New York Knicks
the
at
Mavericks.
21.
Dallas Mavericks starting point guard. Dave, try to give your 21 through 30. We said we were going to try to be factual, then come out of the gates.
Just
we get it wrong.
dropping bombs like that, Ricky.
21 through 30, Dave.
Can I just, before I get started, I'm just going to say there are a couple guys who were kind of contested for the position of point guard, so I'm just going to point that out here as we go through these ratings. Number 30, I did have Chris Dunn. He is the worst starting point guard in the league. Should he remain a starting point guard? At 29, I do have my boy Ish Smith. And at 28, it's Dennis Smith Jr. I don't know how long that's going to last either. Gonna get a lot of Knicks love this episode, I feel. At 27, Jeff Teague. At 26, DJ Augustine. At 25, one of those contested spots at Rajon Rondo. We heard LeBron James is going to be the point guard. I'm still not holding my breath on that one. We'll see, though. We'll see. At 24, I've got Colin Sexton. 23, Reggie Jackson. 22, Terry Rozier. And at 21, DeLon Wright.
The Toronto Raptor great, DeLon Wright.
Jesus.
I will give Ricky credit, though. He was traded from Toronto to Memphis in the Valanciunas Gasol trade, and then he just
I knew
recently
Memphis
signed.
coming out was wrong because I'm like, no, John Morant's the Memphis point guard.
Yeah, Dallas was the answer, and I'll give my 21 through 30. At 30, I have Ish Smith. I love the guy. He's a great bench point guard, but he is a bench point guard. Then at 29, I have Chris Dunn. Literally, he's just younger than Ish Smith, so maybe there's more hope. 28, I have DJ Augustine of the Orlando Magic. 27, I have Dennis Smith Jr. 26, I have my favorite player in the NBA, Reggie Jackson. And 25, I have the Memphis Grizzly Toronto Raptor. We'll just call him the Memphis Raptor, DeLon Wright. Then at 24, I have Jeff Teague of the Timberwolves. Then at 23, I have Rajon Rondo of the Los Angeles Lakers. 22, Terry Rozier of the Charlotte Hornets. And 21, John Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies. And that now leads us to the true 21 through 30. These are the final spots for these players after we tallied them all up. At 30, Ish Smith. Thank you, Ish, for playing. But you are technically not even the Washington Wizard point guard as John Wall is just injured. So you are there by default.
Yep.
Great player, though. We love you. Come
I
on
do.
the podcast anytime. Then at 29, we have Chris Dunn. 28, we have Jeff Teague. 27, we have DJ Augustine. Augustine and Teague tied for 14 points, but two guys put them above. Two guys, Ricky and Dave, put Augustine above Teague, so that's why Augustine gets the 27 spot and Teague gets the 28 spot. At 26, we have Dennis Smith Jr. 25, we have DeLon Wright. At 24, we have Terry Rozier. At 23, we have Reggie Jackson. At 22, we have Rajon Rondo. And at 21, a player that is not in any of our lists from 21 through 30, but still somehow ended up at 21, Colin Sexton.
I don't even understand that.
Oh, wait, no, you have him. You have him at 24. Colin Sexton, you have him at 24. So you tanked him. You tanked Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton at 21, coming in with 29 points. So you are the reason why Colin Sexton is not in the next video. What?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Do you disagree with your own rankings?
No, I'm laughing at the fact that you guys didn't have him in your bottom 10.
Well, let's talk before we talk about that, because I think we have a lot of conversations. I think the first one should just be at least the idea of putting Rajon Rondo there. You brought it up. Should LeBron James be the point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers?
I think he's going to spend the majority of his time playing with the ball in his hands. Does that make him a point guard at this day and age of the NBA? No, because you go back to the old belief of you are who you guard. And I don't see LeBron James guarding ones out there.
John Stan out there.
John Stan.
Woodson.
Thank
That's
you.
what he...
But yeah, no, it seems like lineup-wise, yes, they're going to run with some bigger guys out there, but ideally Rondo out there did work, and I think Rondo with LeBron James works pretty well. The whole thing is just as long as they're shooting around them to support it, because you get those games where Rondo goes out there and they're just going to laugh at him behind the three-point line, and he'll take 7 3-pointers in the first half to be like, you can't do that to me. I'm going to take the shot anyway. I'm not Ben Simmons. And he'll miss, 5 of them, but still, at least take them.
That's 6 points, man. If
Yeah.
you take miss 5 out of 7, that's still
But
6
yeah,
points.
I mean, he's definitely older. I dig his game, though. Like, he's an old man, plays good defense when he tries, and is one of the best passers we've ever seen.
Ricky, I know we had a conversation before, and I told you to save it for the podcast. You think they're better off with Rajon Rondo in the starting lineup?
Yeah, and I mean, the reason why is it depends on what you want that second unit to look like. Do you want that second unit to be led by Rajon Rondo, which wouldn't be a bad thing, Rondo being the vet, but it's not like how he was in Chicago. It wasn't Rondo leading a bunch of young guys. Like, you've got Avery Bradley out there and KCP and Jarrett Dudley, and it's like, with me personally, I feel like let Rondo be the defensive guy to play with LeBron, with AD, even with Danny Green out there in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And then have Kyle Kuzma kind of be the lead of the twos and just let him massacre two second lineups and not starting lineups.
The reason why I think that I kind of crumbled under it just being because LeBron has always been a point forward and he's not technically a point guard. So that's why I said, let's just put Rajon Rondo there. But I honestly think that their best lineup would be running LeBron at that one and having him out there, having Danny Green out there, having Kuzma out there, having AD out there, and then having DeMarcus Cousins out there because Kuzma gives you a better shot from the outside than Rajon Rondo does. And that's exactly what you're looking for in that lineup. And you need to have AD out there. You need to have LeBron out there. Yeah. And you need to have DeMarcus out there. I mean, I know DeMarcus wasn't fantastic in Golden State. We didn't know if that's truly Boogie. But if he does ever hit 100%, he is easily their third best player in that lineup, and you need to have him out there.
Yep.
So in my mind, you need to be able to space out that lineup, and Kuzma will allow you to do that at a more efficient rate, and also just at a more effective rate than Rajon Rondo will allow you to do. Now, how will you actually go about guarding that lineup, at least, or how would you go about playing defense using that lineup? That would be a difficult task because you really don't have a true one out there. You don't have a true two out there. But I think that is your most talented starting lineup.
I mean, you still have Danny Green. I mean, he can guard anything out there.
But he can only guard one player.
Exactly.
Right? So who's going to guard the two?
Kuzma gets burned defensively anyway. So you just, you prey on giving people the turnstile and running into Anthony Davis. Like that just funnel your defense through Anthony Davis is their best bet.
That's the thing that you have two guys out there that can play defense. Because Boogie is aggressive, but he's not a great defender.
Right.
And that's the thing that I think you have the most talent out there. But I think cohesively, Rondo at least allows you to have a guy who can naturally guard each position. AD can obviously guard fours. Boogie can obviously guard fives. LeBron obviously guards threes. Danny Green obviously guards twos. Rondo guards ones. That's typical, normal NBA, very linear. But talent-wise, I think you gain so much more having Kuzma out there because it isn't the same Rondo. And Rondo isn't this lights-out shooter from three. And in the end of it, I think that you just need to be able to have your stars out there. And Kuzma's more of a star than Rondo. And you bring up a point about, Kuzma attacking second units of other teams, but I look at it and I still think you have a decent second unit. You still have Rajon Rondo. You still have Avery Bradley, who's been effective. Somewhat.
Yeah, he's hit or miss.
Well, he wasn't good when he first got traded to the Clippers, but then he left and he was decent in Memphis. Yeah. So you think that maybe he still has something left in the tank, and you still have KCP, you still have JaVale McGee, you still have Jared Dudley. That's a decent second unit.
I like Quinn Cook in that second unit.
Quinn Cook as well.
Give me Quinn Cook and Kuzma.
You take out Dudley.
And the scoring there never stops. That's my thing. Is a lot of these playoff teams, their second unit, they're not as deep as most other teams, and especially as Lakers. If you can have a second unit with Quinn Cook, a guy who can score as efficiently and as well as he does, he has no off switch. He's on the court, he's aggressive, he's looking for shots, and having Kuzma as a 1-2 punch off the bench, I'm all about that game because neither of those guys can defend. So, it's just going to be a scoring matchup out there. And you're going to obviously get some mixed lineups with some of the starters mixed in there. But
could you make the argument for Quinn? Because I was going to throw out Quinn Cook, but I was going to say, could you make the argument that if you're a person that's no, I want Rondo in the second unit, not the first unit, okay, that's fine. Could you make the argument for, hey, we could try Quinn Cook in the starting lineup at point guard because the only reason why he didn't start in Golden State is because he had the golden boy in front of him. There's no way he was going to start over Steph Curry.
He's much worse.
Yeah,
than
I know.
Steph Curry.
Oh, I know. But it's now with this Laker team, if you're going to move LeBron to the three.
No, he's not. No.
He's not a facilitator. He's not that great of a shooter. He's a good bench scorer, but he's not a starter.
Point guard, but he wouldn't be bringing the ball up.
Yeah,
he's staying behind the 3-point line and taking shots.
Yeah.
He's not a starter yet. He hasn't shown that yet, and he was playing on a absolutely stacked team and had a lot of opportunities to step up.
Kind of started to show it the season of 2017-2018.
He had a flash.
And then, boom, injured. And then that's why he only played 33 games that year.
I didn't see much out of him, even when he did get a shot in the true starting lineup, when Steph was down and stuff like that. I never saw it out of Quinn Cook. That's why I forgot about him when I was running through that Laker lineup. I think that ultimately when it comes down to crunch time, though, I think you're going to see Kuzma out there with LeBron, and you're going to see them out there with Danny Green. You're going to see them out there with AD and DeMarcus.
That could be a flexible playoff lineup for sure.
Yeah, I think their best lineup is with Rondo on the bench and those 5 guys out there on the floor. But I mean, at least for...
On the upside, likely all those guys you listed, there's a chance that half of them won't be on this team by the time the playoffs happen. LeBron teams, right? Am I right, Griff?
Griff.
I think that's a fair point. And really, Rondo is, I think his best ability is moving the ball around, and LeBron does that well enough. So that's why I think you don't really need Rondo in there. But let's move to the next guy, and I think it has to be Colin Sexton since we kind of went away from him. You ranked him at 24. Why so low?
He is a mystery because I want to give him the credit for how he finished out the year, shooting incredibly well, scoring in the mid-20s for that last portion of the year. But at the same time, I feel like half of that can be fool's gold over time. We expected Colin Sexton to be this huge effort guy, decent defender in college, comes out and is a terrible defender. Offensive game struggled from a shooting percentage. Didn't seem like they got in great sets for him. And then late in the year, he did go on a very successful run. But how much of that do I believe? And now, as a 6'2" guard, how well is he going to be out there with the newest draft pick of the Cavaliers in Darius Garland? It adds more questions to my mind than I have answers. So my rankings kind of defer to, I'm going to give him a notch down over some guys who have some more experience over him. He's a second year. He'll be coming into his second year now. So yes, there's a chance that he can keep striving off of that end of last year's success. But there's also a chance that he returns back to what we saw for the majority of last year.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give him credit because we always make it to be 30 games, but you look at his last 46, so nearly pretty much
half the season.
Pretty much half the season. Yeah. You look at that back half, 46 games, 33.4 minutes played, 43% from the field, 41% from 3, 81% from the line, 3.2 assists, 0.6 steals, 0.1 blocks per game, 18.3 points per game. I look at him and I think that we have to think about what he came into, and you were expecting possibly LeBron James to be on that team because he was still drafted when LeBron was out there.
Colin Sexton, what do you like to say to LeBron James to get him to stay in Cleveland? What the fuck is your problem, draft night?
He was still out there in a possible LeBron Cleveland era. He was still thinking that was before the Kevin Love extension, but then you get the Kevin Love extension. You think that he's going to be available and to be helping that team. You get a new regime as well out there, coaching-wise, since Ty Lue left. I think it's fair that we could probably write that first half of the season off just because he had a lot to go through, and we saw the real player for over 46 games last year that I think that he can be. And yes, some of those numbers might be inflated because he didn't have a lot of players to bounce off of on that team. But also, I think you can make the argument the fact that he took that growth shooting-wise from the outside is something that is very important.
Yeah.
No one thought that he could be a plus shooter from the outside, and he shot well over 40% from there. And yes, it wasn't at a blazing, attempts per game of 6 to 7 attempts per game, but he was at 2.4, which is still a solid rate. And his free throw percentage was really good at 81.2%. So I still look at him, and I think his offense is definitely there. And I think a big thing that he had over college guys was that speed, and he still has that, but I think his speed kind of gave him also a little bit of an edge in intensity, and I don't think he found that until later half of the year.
Yeah.
So yes, he might not be a plus defensively right now. I still think he has that work ethic to get to that point. And I think if we're looking at that back half, I think we still have to say he's better than some of these guys. He might not be better than Terry Rozier, who I have over him. He might not be better than Ja Morant, but I'll get to my reason for putting Ja that low in a little bit. But he's better than DeLon Wright, who's been mostly largely a backup throughout his whole career. He's better than Jeff Teague. He's better than Reggie Jackson. He's better than Dennis Smith Jr. He's better than Chris Dunn. He's better than Ish Smith. If you're giving Trae Young that plus for his offensive performance, you have to give something to Colin Sexton for what he did in that second half. And I understand that Trae Young has that passing attack to himself.
Passes the ball.
Yeah, that's fine. But he also has players to pass the ball too. And I'm not saying Colin Sexton is near the level of a facilitator that Colin Sexton is. Clearly, there is a huge gap there. But there's also a gap in my ratings. I had Trae Young all the way at 9. I have Colin Sexton at 20. That's a fair split there. But Colin Sexton showed that he can be a high-level scorer in the NBA, to a 22 to 18 point per game scorer in his first season. He can still take a growth. Yeah,
I mean, for me, and I'll spoil Colin Sexton's at 20 for me. The reason why I had him just out of this range, though, isn't anything to do with Colin Sexton. It's to do with guys who are in this range, like Justice Winslow. Last year was the first year we got to see him at the point guard position. Before I kind of crown your ass, show me what you can do in year 2, maybe as the entire year point guard for the Miami Heat. Now, Jimmy Butler will play into that as well because now he's got to play with Jimmy. DeJounte Murray coming off of an injury. How are you going to be in your season coming off of it? And then even guys like Dennis Smith Jr., where it's like, are we going to see a grow this year? Like, those are just 3 players that have the potential to me with good seasons to jump into that top 20. And if they do, Colin Sexton gets probably knocked back to 23, 24, where Dave has him.
I don't know. For me, it comes down to, if you're my point guard and you can't facilitate, are you really a point guard? Like, that's... I'm sorry. Like, you mentioned, and I will give him the asterisk for, like, yes, your teammates aren't amazing, but his assist number is abysmal. And I don't understand, it was a big question taking Darius Garland here because we all were like, you guys, you know that like Darius Garland wasn't a great passer, in his 5 games of college either. Yeah. But who's going to move this ball around this offense? Because we just saw a bunch of hero ball out of Colin Sexton taking threes to end the season, and that's okay. But like, you have to show me that you can figure out how to move the ball around in this offense. And obviously now he is a fantastic head coach. And if you can't get it done with a new regime and a slightly retooled roster this year, if that assist number doesn't jump, I'm like, cool, you're just a really good scoring guard.
Yeah, I've always seen him as a 2, but he's just too small to play the 2. And now drafting Garland, I mean, you pretty much have the same player, back to back. I think Garland probably is more of a natural shooter than Colin Sexton, as Colin Sexton's more of a driver using his speed and attacking. But I still see them both as undersized too. And yes, the passing does concern me, but I'm not saying, he's going to be a top 10 guard ever in his career, but I think that he is at least, a better scorer than Lonzo Ball. He's a better scorer than DeJounte Murray. He's a better scorer than Ricky Rubio. He's a better scorer than Pat Beverly. Like, he's a better scorer than these guys. The reason where he lacks are very clear, defense and passing, but that doesn't mean he cannot grow as a 20-something-year-old. So that's why I think if we're giving this much credit to John Morant, who hasn't even put on a jersey yet, putting him in the top 15, I think we can give Colin Sexton credit for dropping 18 in the league. I don't care if it's a bad team or not. He still did it efficiently. He did it more efficiently than your number 3 guy, Russell Westbrook, on a bad team. I mean, Colin Sexton had a fairly decent season. And yes, he didn't have a triple-double like Russell Westbrook did. But scoring 18 efficiently is something that is definitely worth something in the NBA. And yes, he's not that great of a passer right now as a point guard, but I also don't see him as a point guard. I see him more as a 2 guard. We're putting him in the point guard situation just because I think he is smaller than Darius Garland, and literally no one else can bring up that ball on that team. So he is the best.
Larry Nance Jr. is basically the point guard of that offense.
He's the best at being bad. I mean,
or Jetty.
He's the best at, I don't know.
The only other thing I want to throw in about Colin Sexton is basically college and NBA, we have yet to see Colin Sexton on a team that has the pieces around. You could even think back to college where it was like the only reason he had 3.6 assists per game was it was like, well, who does Alabama have? Oh, they've got Colin Sexton. Like, the game where they all fouled out against Minnesota. He's like, fuck it, 5v3, all on me. And, like, that was his season in college. So it's like, even with the Cavs, it's like,
I'm sorry.
Know Dave
who do they have on their team is not an excuse. John Morant put up 10 assists a game in college with
against worst opposition.
Yeah,
okay,
but I mean,
Trae Young put up how many assists a game in college? Like,
yes,
but Trae Young's also, we already established that he's a better facilitator.
I want to take away the who you have as an excuse. Because it's not.
It's not everything, but it is in a scorer's mentality. It's like, well, you know what? If I don't have faith that you're going to get the ball in the hoop, I'm going to fucking do it. Like, and that's what I think is part of it with both teams. It's like, he's got that scorer's mentality and doesn't trust the people around him because really, like you said, they extended K-Love. Oh, he's going to have K-Love, and he didn't have K-Love.
It's definitely not a scenario where, who do you have around you is a necessary blame because he's making all these passes and then these guys just suck and are missing shots. It's definitely not that scenario. He is not a natural facilitator.
Right.
I agree with that. But also I think it's tough to fully judge him on what he can be at his best on a good team because he's not on a good team yet. And you make a point about Ja Morant. Obviously, he was phenomenal with low-level talent on going up against that low-level talent, but then also on his team.
Yeah, being able to carry them into the tourney.
Yeah, and even winning a game.
Yep.
Or nearly winning a game. They lost.
They won a game. They won and done.
Yeah, they won a game. So I mean, even winning a game there, he clearly has that next level ability of a facilitator. I don't think Colin Sexton has that, but I think he can be decent enough, and still putting up 18 points per game, I think is something great.
So I think next year at this time, it's going to be Darius Garland, Sexton at the 2 probably.
Yeah, like if we were comparing Colin Sexton versus Devin Booker, like clearly Booker obviously has a better scoring ability, but Booker was also able to add that facilitating level to his game. Colin Sexton needs to be able to do that because Booker is the only reason why I think he's up so high on our shooting guard rankings is because he is dropping 7 to 8 assists per game on a bad team where Colin Sexton hasn't been able to do that yet. But again, he's still young, so I think that's why I'm giving a little bit more leeway to him.
He's got room to grow for sure, though.
Let's move to number 29. Obviously, going to the place that we're currently in Chicago.
Yeah,
a little bit of a discussion that we had. We originally had Thomas Satoransky in this mix, but I ended up kind of pushing for Chris Dunn. He started in 44 of 46 games at point guard for the Bulls last year. You were even making an Arcidiacono push. So who the hell is starting for the Bulls here at point guard?
No, I wasn't making an Arcidiacono push. My point was basically because you had brought up, he started this many games of last year, and it's like, last year, who were you going to start, Chris Dunn or Archie? And Archie's not a starter, so that was my point. We literally did not have another point guard.
Shaq Harrelson and...
we did. We had Pooh and Shaq, but at the same time, I'm not starting those guys every day over Chris Dunn.
Lemon, Junior.
And unless, sometimes, Zach's going to play the point today.
Yeah.
We have a conundrum in Chicago where I think Chris Dunn starts the year at point guard. I don't think he ends the year at point guard because I feel like... Satoransky's interesting. He creates some interesting lineups, but he can also play the 2 or the 3. He's versatile in that sense. I think Kobe White is by the end of the year, if everything goes right, he's the point guard for this team. He's the one starting at point guard. But right now, after seeing his shot in Summer League and going, 3 for 30 in Summer League from beyond the arc, step back inside the arc. Beautiful. Puts it in. Take a shot outside the arc. It didn't go in for Kobe White. And he also doesn't have the leadership yet that you want at that point guard position to where Chris Dunn, is he hot garbage? We like to think he is, but to me, he's not the worst. There are worse than Chris Dunn. Is he great? No. Especially offensively, he's terrible. But what he brings defensively, I don't think he's the worst point guard, but he's not the best in the league, and he's probably not going to be the starter towards the end of the season, depending how Kobe White develops.
I see him as a decent bench guard in the NBA. I don't think he's offensively terrible. I mean, he's still a plus shooter from the outside. He's not taking a ton of shots, but
it depends on what you look at.
Massively.
The stats of points per game and everything, his shooting percentages is good, but once you look at offensive win shares, that's where it's it's not so hot. So it's is he terribly offensive? No, but his offense isn't, I'll say it's not consistent enough in my sense. Where defensively, I would say he's more consistent defensively than he is offensively.
Yeah, I mean, was at a negative 0.5 last year, which isn't crazy. I mean, he's not, like you said, he's not an offensive savant, but I don't think he's bad offensively. I mean,
his true shooting percentage was 48%.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was not good.
How was it 48%?
I don't know. So I'm literally just looking at the stat.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, well,
because it takes in 2-point, 3-point, and free throws, but he all had decent percentages from those lines. He shot 42% from the field, which isn't that good. But then he shot 35% from 3, which is above league average, and they shot 80% from the line, which is fairly decent.
Yeah.
It's something next level for true shooting. 60% and above is next level.
That's incredible. Yeah.
And then around league average is around 50, I think 55. So he's a little bit under league average.
Yeah. It's just the flow of the offense for me. Like, I like Chris Dunn as a player.
That's the thing. I don't think he's bad offensively. I just don't think he fits this offense.
Right. And the one kind of bummer out of last year is that he got hurt, and we didn't really get to see him with the new lineup with Otto Porter in it. Mm-hmm. And that's where things changed a lot because we didn't really have a true 3 out there who could shine. We were, trying to jam in Jabari Parker as a 3, which... If you watch this, our videos from last year, I tried to tell myself that Jabari Parker somehow would lose some fucking weight and play the 3, but that did not work out. Point being, our lineup now, if we have Lowry healthy, if we have Otto Porter and Zach LaVine, like, we're stretching that floor out. So Chris Dunn might have some better effectiveness this year running the offense because last year he would drive in that mid-range and then pull up, and it would just get so crowded because Zach LaVine has a very similar game. Mm-hmm. And when you have both of your guards not having, the green light from 3 right away, it crashes in everybody and it just congests up the court, especially in the post. So I think that him being our point guard this year, I think he might hold on to it all season. The only question, I like Satoransky a lot more, but like Ricky said, he is versatile. He can kind of fill in wherever, and I'm sure he will. But if this team is trying to make a playoff push, if they can stay healthy, I don't know if Kobe White's going to be a guy who could step into a lineup. That would be a big step forward for him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think Chris Dunn will do okay this year. Just out of this starters list, yeah, that's where I see him.
And the big thing too with Chris Dunn is it is a contract year, and I mean you listen to John Paxson. You listen to John Paxson talk, and it sounds like Chris Dunn is kind of checked out, and he doesn't he's kind of sick of trying to prove himself, and he's kind of in this place of just despair. Like he's not really pushing that much because he feels like he doesn't have a place to go now that they drafted Kobe White. It seems like this is the end of Chris Dunn in Chicago. I think though if he goes to a different team, it could be something that reinvigorates him and resparks him. I think he's definitely a decent player. I think he's going to be in the league after this stint in Chicago. Oh, yeah. And I wouldn't be shocked if this team, we see come February, this team isn't in the playoff hunt. If that happens, I could definitely see him being taken out, and then obviously, give Kobe White a shot because what else is there left to lose? But I think you'll have to definitely be out of the playoffs because I think Chris Dunn at least gives you what you want, and if you are able to fully stretch out that lineup, I think he does help.
And that's how you subsidize, your Zach LaVine deficiencies of defense. Like you can't have someone out there who can't cover for Zach's guy. Mm-hmm.
Let's move to 27 now. It's DJ Augustine. I think the big conversation to be had here is DJ Augustine or Markelle Fultz, because the trade for Markelle Fultz, we hear about, him now working off massively through the offseason. It seems like he's back. He didn't play a single game for Orlando Magic, but if he's healthy, who's your starting point guard?
If he's healthy?
If he's healthy.
I'm starting Markelle. I'm a bold man. I like DJ Augustine. I know we give him a lot of shit because Orlando Magic, but
yeah.
I think Augustine, the best thing about him is the dude knows his own game. He knows his limitations. He's an excellent shooter. He doesn't take shots away from guys, though. He's not jamming up a ton of volume.
He hit a big shot.
He hit a big shot, and that was pretty solid. But at the end of the day, that young team, so young, so long, so interesting. I want to go upside. I want to go with the youngest triple-double ever in Markelle Fultz.
Ricky, what do you think?
Beginning of the year, he's not starting for me, only because this is a guy that we have said numerous times, no matter who you listen to, that there's a possibility that it could be mental when it comes to Markelle, like him getting into his head a little bit too much. If that's the case, I'm going to kind of ease him into things. If everything is true, like Aaron Gordon calling him a monster out there, I want to ease him in. It's like we've got Augustine out there. He'll be the point. We'll work in Fultz with the second unit. And then if he shows good things, you can segue him into the starting lineup, because I kind of feel like Magic, I almost want to say Magic fashion, because before they were a playoff team last year, they were top of the draft. It would be like, oh, let's throw him in the starting lineup. And then he just crumbles. And I don't want that to happen to Markelle Fultz. Get into his head again, ease him in, let him work with the second unit, then let him work to that starting spot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you can't throw him right into the fire, and that's definitely fair because we haven't seen him in a Magic uniform at all. But at least when it comes down to when he is fully healthy, let's say he's healthy, he's played his games. Do you think that Markelle Fultz can be a starting point guard in Orlando?
I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to just, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, sure, you got to put him in the starting lineup. But then there's a part of me that's like, you know what? If Augustine's doing good with that starting lineup, let Markelle be regular season-wise, be out there with the second unit, and just kind of be that player to where it's like you're making teams mismatch for the, like, okay, we got to have someone. We're not going to start this guy. We got to have this guy come out and play with the second unit because Markelle's leading that second unit. We can't put in ours because then Markelle will kind of take a game over in that second unit and push the score to where it's like, oh, we're down by 15 now to the Magic, where he's basically dominating second units and leading the second unit of the Magic team.
Interesting.
But why wouldn't you want to put that dangerous of a player into the starting lineup?
Because what they already have starting it depends on how their starting unit's playing. If their starting unit is playing well, why fix what isn't broken? When you can add him to a second unit, he'll go up against weaker players because they're bench players, not starters. And then whether it's regular season or playoff, if it's even a playoff game, he's going up against a weaker unit to where it's like, okay, we're down 5. Markelle played with the second unit this little bit of stretch, and he can flip games to where it's like we went from down 5 to up 7.
So you think he has like Spencer Dinwiddie,
Yeah.
Lou Will even upside?
Yeah, he
to
could
run
be
a
like
second
that
unit?
to the Magic, to where it's like, why put all of the eggs in one basket when you can give your second unit kind of a spark to where teams have to game plan for that?
Because they were the AC with this lineup, but all right.
I mean, with Markelle, are they going to be anywhere higher? Like how much higher?
Yeah, well,
they could
you're
be,
describing
but
them like they
how,
could be.
How much higher do you think they're going to be with Markelle? That's the thing. I don't think Markelle in this lineup makes them like a 5th seed. Like if that was the case, then yeah, he's a starter.
I wanted to have this conversation because I know Orlando Magic fans are all hype about Markelle Fultz on Twitter.
Absolutely.
I love the damn kid. I thought he was the best player on that draft. Clearly he's not. I just hope he's able to bounce back. And if he's able to come back healthy, I think, if he's able to show that he's able to work with the second unit, he's able to work a little bit with the first unit. If he's able to show that he's back fully healthy and can add something to the outside, I would throw him in the starting lineup, because if we're talking about this being a mental problem, or, not mental problem, but at least an anxiety issue or anything like that.
Just the yips.
Whatever you want to call it. I think with Markelle Fultz, I think you need to give him that confidence. And, being in Orlando, there'll be less pressure than being in Philadelphia, being a part of the process. Orlando will take off some of that pressure, and being in that starting lineup will at least give you some confidence that, hey, maybe I'm back on the right track. And I think you definitely have to look towards putting him back in the starting lineup. One final guy I want to talk about before we just open it up, if you guys have any other thoughts. DeLon Wright, currently the starting point guard that we have down for the Mavericks. Is that going to be the case at the end of the year? Because I really liked what I saw from Jalen Brunson. I also liked what I saw from JJ Barea playing next to Luka Doncic. Obviously, Barea hurt himself last year. We're not sure on the timetable of Barea's return. He is older, so it's definitely going to be tough to recover from that injury that he had. But where does DeLon Wright stand? How does he help Luka Doncic? And what can this lineup look like with Luka and DeLon next to each other?
I don't know. I think I'm with you as far as I'm not 100% sure he's going to end up being the starting point guard all year, because we did see that great success out of JJ. We did see Jalen Brunson step in and play really well. And I like Jalen Brunson with Luka together, but they went out and paid for DeLon Wright, which makes me believe that they want him to be there. They want him to be the guy next to Luka. He's a good slashing point guard. His outside shot's not fantastic, but he is able to facilitate pretty well. He's able to go get rebounds. He's a bigger guard. I think that he's versatile, and that's exactly what they're looking for out of that backcourt, because, you've got Luka at the 2, who is, 6'7" and big and strong, and, he does need to lose some weight, but that's not the point here. I just had to bring it up. But yeah, I think that they really liked DeLon Wright in the game that he brought, especially in the last 20 games. He was putting up 14 points a game, 6 assists, just shy of 6 boards, shooting 45% from the field. That's solid. The problem is that 3-point shots got a lot of work required. But on the upside, you got great shooters and great facilitators already. So if you add someone who is a big guard, who can play aggressively, who can slash aggressively off Luka's creative passing, I like that. I like what it could be.
All right, final thoughts. You guys want to throw out anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, the only final thought I have is going off of the DeLon Wright thing is I think he will be the starter, because obviously they're thinking about the JJ Barea injury. And really, it's like you look at the stats. If he can come in and do what J.J. Barea did, where J.J. had like 10 points per game. If DeLon Wright gives us the 12 that he was averaging, that's great, but he's also going to give him around 5 assists. He actually rebounds a little bit more than Barea. And
because he's bigger. He's
yeah, like Barea
10 inches larger.
Yeah, and Barea also wasn't a guy that was shooting it lights out from 3. He was in the upper 20s as well.
The whole thing with Barea was he was spelling Dennis Smith Jr. And look up Dennis Smith Jr.'s number if you don't mind with the Mavericks. I don't have a laptop with me, so I can't do it. But
I've got it.
I think what was Dennis Smith doing last year?
He had with the Magic, it was
Mavericks.
12.9 a game, 4 assists, 3 boards.
Okay. And those numbers are better than what J.J. Barea was doing, like you said. DeLon Wright was putting up 12 points per game, but the offense didn't flow. Where Luka wasn't getting his shots, he wasn't able to move the ball around. His assist numbers were down. Guys weren't getting open looks when Luka was finding them. J.J. Barea made the whole offense flow. So DeLon Wright can score, provide more scoring for you. But in the end, it's all about that offense flowing around Luka.
Yeah, J.J. was just running like crazy too. He was just a man in motion, and Jalen Brunson was able to stretch out the floor for them, which was kind of nice. But at the same time, he never got stationary. Like he learned from JJ. It's like this is how we play well with Luka.
Exactly. And one thing with DeLon, although he's extremely athletic, and Toronto fans loved him. He is a bigger guard, so will he be able to do that? Will he have the conditioning to continue that? I think this offense in the end might be better with Jalen Brunson or J.J. Barea starting, but we'll have to end up seeing. Because I think DeLon Wright probably has more potential as a true starting guard, but I don't know if it's just on this team. Because Luka obviously is going to take precedence over this along with KP. But let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. You guys got anyone else you want to throw out in 21 to 30? Should we get to 11
I think it's
20?
hilarious that we just disrespect Jeff Teague like this. Why are you taking shots away from Cat? Why are you taking inefficient shucker shots away from Cat? You weren't even your best point guard on the team last year. You got outshined by Derrick Rose, who for half of the year couldn't make a 3-point shot because he had bone spurs.
No, it was for half of the games he played. Yeah. Because he played like 51 games. So like half of those games he was trash for it. And then the other half he was a god at shooting threes. But yeah, shout out Jeff Teague. And shout out to the Toronto Grizzly, DeLon Wright. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. But let's move into the next segment, and that's 11 through 20 for our starting point guards for each NBA team. How we are going to do it, if you are just joining us now, Ricky's going to give his 11 through 20. Dave's going to give his 11 through 20. I'm going to give my 11 through 20, and then we'll give our cumulative 11 through 20. If you are still listening through this full thing, either on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio or iTunes, sorry for restarting this, but obviously we put them on YouTube, and some people just jump in the middle of it. But Ricky, start us off, 11 through 20.
So starting off at 20, Cleveland Cavalier, Colin Sexton. Then at 19, no longer a Laker. He is now a New Orleans Pelican, and that is Lonzo Ball. Then the Pistons starting point guard, Reggie Jackson at 18. Rajon Rondo of the Lakers at 17. Pat Bev of the Clippers at 16. Then Ricky Rubio of the Phoenix Suns at 15. Ja Morant, rookie point guard for the Grizzlies at 14. De'Aaron Fox of the Kangs at 13. Chris Paul of the Thunder.
There you go.
Think about it for a second.
There you go, Chief.
At
You got
12.
it. You got it.
And then Jamal Murray of the Nuggets at 11.
He got them all. This man.
Dave, 11 through 20.
At number 20, I've got Lonzo Ball. At 19, I've got DeJounte Murray. At 18, it's Patrick Beverley. 17, Justice Winslow. 16, just straight disrespectful to everyone, it's John Morant. At 15, I've got Ricky Rubio. At 14, Eric Bledsoe. 13, Jamal Murray. 12, Malcolm Brogdon. And 11, Trae Young.
All right, my 11 through 20. I got Colin Sexton at 20, Lonzo Ball at 19, Justice Winslow at 18, 17, DeJounte Murray, 16, Ricky Rubio, 15, Pat Bev, 14, Jamal Murray, 13, Eric Bledsoe, 12, Chris Paul, and 11, Malcolm Brogdon. And for our cumulative rating, that comes out to 20 being DeJounte Murray, 19, Justice Winslow, 18, Lonzo Ball, 17, Ja Morant, 16, Pat Bev, 15, Eric Bledsoe, 14, Ricky Rubio, 13, Jamal Murray, 12, Malcolm Brogdon, and number 11, CP3. Let's first start off with the guy that is in the 15th spot. I had him at 13. Dave had him at 14. And Ricky dropped Eric Bledsoe all the way to 22.
Yep.
What's up with that?
Had nothing to do with Eric Bledsoe. After looking at it, I was like, you know what?
You put him below Dennis Smith.
Yeah, it's because for me, the guys that I have in front of him, Dennis Smith, Colin Sexton, Lonzo Ball, even like a John Morant, even a De'Aaron Fox. I'm looking for most years. I look at those young guys and I get hyped for those young guys, and I expect them to have really good years. To where is Bledsoe probably a little low in my rankings? Yeah, but can't change it now, so that's where he's going to be. That is literally what it is. Like I was looking at it and going, I could probably have him a little bit higher, but you know what? Fuck it. It's how it laid out.
You correct me if I'm wrong, but you also had Lonzo Ball like 5
number 10
in his rookie year.
2017. Number 10.
This is rookie year.
Yep.
I mean,
I loved Lonzo though.
you overrate
He had him
guys.
above Kemba.
And you look at Derek Bledsoe from when he joined the Milwaukee Bucks. This is a guy that has helped this team win. This is a guy that has consistently been out on the floor. He's used to have injury issues, but he's been massively healthy for the Bucks this year. This was the number 1 seed. And yes, he wasn't his greatest. I think it was in the postseason. He had a rough slot.
He had some rough postseason games.
Yeah, but you look at the past 2 years, and this is a guy giving you 30 minutes, 47.9% from the field, 33.3% or 33.8% from 3, which is a little bit below average, but clearly it's fine for this team. This team's one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league. He gives you 5 assists a game. He gives you boards. He gives you a great defense on the other end, near 17 points a game. This is a guy that we talk about him being LeBron Jr. before. I think he's not only just an all-around decent player, but I think he brings a lot to this team as it comes to culture. You see that him and Giannis are best buds. I think it gives Giannis a guy to kind of bounce himself off of because there isn't a massive leader in that locker room. Giannis has to be that guy. But where is he learning it from? And I think Eric Bledsoe has been a guy that's been able to teach him how the NBA works and how to be able to grow. And obviously, it's funny thinking of a 6'2 guard, 6'4 guard in Eric Bledsoe, teaching a 6'11 freak in Giannis Antetokounmpo how to grow as a leader. But I think that what Eric Bledsoe brings from a leadership standpoint is so huge, and the fact that this has been one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference deserves a plus bump outside of even just what he brings stat-wise, because he brings a lot to this team. He brings a lot to moving this ball around, and some of these assists just get taken away from the actual offense that he plays in. I think Eric Bledsoe is a guy that is absolutely perfect in the spot that he is, and he fills a role just like DJ Augustine did. Eric Bledsoe fills this role perfectly for the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at yet again like some of the guys like the Lonzo.
What role does Dennis Smith Jr. fill?
Well, I mean,
this dude's trash.
With Dennis Smith and Colin Sexton, those two are basically I expect better years out of them this year.
What has Dennis Smith showed you, though?
I think they're going to take jumps this year, and this is when
Why?
I come into my rankings of like a year older. Like you see the workouts that these guys are doing. I think that Dennis Smith will take a jump. Lonzo Ball on this Pelicans team, I think it's going to be something special.
I didn't bring up Lonzo Ball.
I know, no, but I'm saying like that's one that people could say, well, Bledsoe's above Lonzo.
Why is Reggie Jackson above?
That's the one where I'm like, okay, looking at it, if I was to retcon my rankings, I could change that. But like Rondo, what he's going to bring to that Laker team, him and Pat Bev are kind of the same situation. Is they're more defensive in my mind, but what they are going to bring to their teams is going to be so much more key, especially because, the Bucks are going to be in the playoff hunt, but Giannis and even like a Chris Mid or a Budenholzer are going to get most of the praise for them even going to the finals, where we could look at the Clippers and the Lakers being like, AD, LeBron, Kawhi, PG, they're good. But, man, the defense that Rondo's been playing in the playoffs, or, man, Pat Bev's defense in the playoffs has really taken them above. And that's why that's kind of where mine fell out.
Bledsoe didn't do that, obviously, last year when it comes to defense in the playoffs. But he definitely fills that role that Beverly and Rondo does. And I think the offense that he does bring is greater than those two guys. That's why I have him above them. Reggie Jackson's absolute shit. He should be below Eric Bledsoe. That might be a little bit too harsh. Lonzo Ball and Colin Sexton, yes, those guys are very young and still provide upside. I had them ranked the same as you, 19 and 20, but those guys are not on that level yet where they're able to put up the numbers that Lonzo Ball, in Lonzo Ball's case, Eric Bledsoe is able to do offensively, at least when it comes to a scoring standpoint. And Colin Sexton does not play near a lick of the same amount of defense that Eric Bledsoe does. So those guys are, not balanced players. And Dennis Smith Jr. is bad. He's just Reggie Jackson, but worse.
So I don't.
Like
I don't.
I just expect him to take a jump this year.
For what
and we'll have
reason?
to wait and see.
He has not shown you anything.
I
in 3 years.
feel like it's going to
older.
be again a year older. You're
slower.
year 2 in the Fizdale system, or what you want to call the Fizdale system.
Yeah.
Year 2 of being with Fizdale. I think that this Knicks team, with the veterans that they've brought in, did they bring in the veterans they wanted?
Power forwards.
You know what? I think that being around these veterans is going to help Dennis Smith Jr. and he's going to take will it be a monumental jump? Probably not, but he's going to be better in 2019.
He's going to lose his starting job.
To who?
Lonzo Trier. They're just gonna. I know he's a 2. It doesn't matter.
I don't know. I think Eric Bledsoe should be higher on this list. He'd be higher than Ricky. He should be higher than Ricky Rubio.
I mean, he's at 15 in the overall rankings, which is a little bit low for him. But he did end the year on a really low note. In the playoffs, he notably got crushed.
What, three lower than he was last year? Last year was at 12.
Yeah.
For us.
But he was good. He was the same player that he was last year. No one took a jump up outside of De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it's
Trae Young, so he should move at least down 2.
Cumulative wise, he's at least in the ballpark of where he should be.
But yeah, he disappointed against the Raptors. He disappointed against Boston. So I'm not horribly shocked that like the lasting remaining image in my mind is that. I mean, and that does that weighs in pretty heavily when you get Kyle Lowry down, Danny Green, and he got shut down. Mm-hmm. He had 5 games where he didn't score double digits.
It's true. No, it's true.
He shot awfully from the field. But overall during the year, he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, I mean, their whole idea was to slow down Giannis.
Yeah.
And when they did that, that put a lot of pressure on Eric Bledsoe and the whole rest of the team.
Yep.
And he did not show up, which is absolutely true. But even then, Kyle Lowry didn't do that for how many years in the playoffs, but he was probably still a top 10 point guard. So,
yep.
I don't know. Let's move now to the next guy, John Morant. I had him the lowest at 21. Ricky, you had him the highest at 14. Dave, you had him at 16. Ends up being at 17. My whole thing is, I know people love him. I know people already think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be great too. I just can't give a guy who has not put on a uniform yet that high of a ranking. I think the only player that I have done that with is Luka Doncic. And Luka Doncic, we already knew he was going to be the shit. That guy was absolutely already an NBA pro, and he absolutely backed that up. So right now, I am not in that position to be able to put him at that level. To put them at that level, where I think I put Luka Doncic last year, is to say that he's going to put up 27 and 5 or whatever Luka put up. I don't think he'll be able to do that.
I mean, you did have Ayton pretty high last year, too. You had Ayton at 12.
Centers suck. That's the thing. I think that's how I defended it, was that centers suck.
Yeah, the number 1 pick last year was there, so.
But he wasn't the number 1. He was number 2.
Ayton was the number 1
Ja.
pick. Yeah, Ja was number 2. So, I mean, none of us had Bagley high, so it's fair. Fair.
I mean,
I don't know.
Why so high? Why 14
because he's
and 16?
John Morant, and he's on a team.
Who else do the Grizzlies have? I'm going to use
Jays.
that. Like, who else do they have on that team to where it's like
John Morant, Josh Jackson,
Yes.
Jandon Jark,
All young-
Jaren Jackson Jr.,
all
Jonas Valanciunas.
Jalen Judas. All these young players, except for Jalen Judas, where I expect him to just, will the Grizzlies be good? Probably not. But he's going to run rough shot stat-wise to where it's like, we talk about the Murray State, and it's like, oh, it was Murray State. But he's going to do the same thing in Memphis. Like, he's going to put Memphis on the map with his style of play this year as a rookie, and he'll probably be the rookie of the year.
There's a good chance he will be. I mean, Zion will get all the attention out the gates.
That's right. Fucking Zion's rookie of the year. Ricky, don't get ahead of yourself.
Zion's amazing.
Thank you for mentioning the great one.
But stat-wise, I think John Morant's got a chance to just do disgusting things because, like Ricky said, like this Memphis roster is like a bunch of guys with young potential, and the talent's there. They just have to figure out how to put it all together. So I think this year you're going to see a lot of interesting games and a lot of standout performances by John Morant, where it's just like, look, I mean, he's the only guy who had it going tonight, and that's fine. And he's going to put up ridiculous numbers his rookie year.
He is cracking the top 20. Last year, Trae Young, Colin Sexton did not do that. Trae Young was at 25. Colin Sexton was at 26. The previous year, we did have Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball crack the top 20. Funny enough, Ball was in front of Fultz mainly because of Ricky Widmer. And then I think in 2016, we did not have a rookie crack the top 20. We horribly laid this out, so I can't even tell.
But I think the only guy that was a rookie in our rankings was
2016.
No, we didn't have a rookie in there. So the only two guys to crack the top 20 are, well, now three: Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, and John Morant. Let's look back now on where Markelle Fultz is. He's not even this ranking, and Lonzo Ball still where he was at. So I don't really think he's deserving of that ranking yet. I think we need to see what he can do. Obviously, we saw what he was able to do in college, but we talked about this before. He was in a worse conference. He was not playing NBA-level talent. Not saying that he won't be decent. You know, Murray State was a fine program. He was able to show that he was good in the tournament. But we don't know that he'll be able to handle all of the pressures of the NBA. And putting that much pressure that he's going to be the 17th best player, better than Justice Winslow, who obviously had a pretty decent campaign already, an all-defensive NBA player in DeJounte Murray. Yes, he's coming off an injury, but still, Rajon Rondo, who is an NBA champion, I think is a little bit high for John Morant.
It might be a little bit high, and my homerism of John Morant might be fading in a little bit here from the entire draft.
Which is weird, because for the second straight season, like, Dave was huge on Luka. I had Luka higher than Dave in the positional rankings. Dave, highest on Ja. I have Ja highest in the positional rankings.
Well, you're the Ronnie 2K of this podcast. You're all amped on rookies.
I love rookies, and I think that Ja's going to do great on this team.
But he's a rookie.
Rookies can do great things.
Okay, there has been one guy in this entire history of this podcast that has done great things, and that's Luka Doncic. And we were under on him. We put him at 14 last year. That was under, for sure. But that's the only time we've ever been wrong about a rookie.
And I played it conservatively. I'm
Dave
always
didn't
conservative in my
want to
rankings. I will never go all in on a ranking.
So where do you think that in the end of the year, where John Morant can be, where do you think he'll end up? Because you're saying he's being conservative.
I think he maybe can get up to like 12, but like I really think that the top 10 of this list is so crazy close. Like, you know, you guys I have Trae Young at 11 right now, and that shows a shit ton of respect for Trae Young being able to run an offense at the NBA level. His absolute confidence in his shot, being able to take 40-foot threes and make them in people's faces is just laughable. But the fact that he's also a turnstile is why he's not in my top 10. And I think to what John Morant can do as a athletic monster out there, and you know the comps that he has had coming out are incredible players who were absolutely dominating since their rookie year. So I'm like, is there a chance he gets into the top 10? I'll give it a 5% chance that next year he'll be looking back on this and be like, yeah, John Morant's top 10 player.
Trae Young dropped 20 and 10, so I doubt he's going to be top 10. He's not even cracking your top 10.
Well, he only plays one half of the ball. He's literally statistically the worst defender in the history of the NBA.
Okay, John Morant won't be that bad, but is John Morant that good defensively?
I mean, he's not that bad defensively.
But is he that good defensively?
Average is better than the worst historical defender in the history of the NBA.
Do you think John Morant is average at defense?
I would say so.
I think he was average in college. I think he's going to be below average in the NBA.
What do you think his stat line is going to be, his rookie season? 2 questions. That's one of them.
13,
what's his stat line?
13, 8, and 4.
8 rebounds, 4 assists for...
8 assists.
Oh, okay.
4 boards.
Okay.
I mean, he's going up against Jandon Jark and Jared Jackson
teammates.
Jr. and Jonas Valanciunas. Those guys are going to be fighting for boards. Those guys are going to be grabbing boards. I mean, unless it's a Russell Westbrook situation where they're clearing
That's
the
one
lane.
of his comps. I mean, was
we don't
Brody.
know what it's going to be like. What if he doesn't grab a single rebound because Jandon Jark's out there flying over the rim?
At 6'8", he's going to get all up in there.
Dude's got a crazy bird.
He does.
What do you think? What's going to be his stat line?
Probably closer to 18.
Oh, no way.
7 and 6.
Okay.
18?
18?
Question 2. How many wins will the Grizzlies have with Ja at point guard?
Under 30.
Give me a number.
26.
Okay. What about you? What do you think? Why are you looking at my screen?
I'm trying to see how many wins they had last year. Can you?
Last year?
10. They sucked.
I'm like, Dave, I'm not looking at last year's stats.
That's what I was looking for. I was like, please give me last year's number.
They had
a basis.
33 last year.
35.
Okay.
Had 33 wins last year?
Yeah, they did.
They kept Marcus on the team for half the year.
What the fuck?
They had Mike Conley on the team for the entire year.
The reason why I ask, and if he has the 18
Probably 33.
that Dave mentioned, I think there's a good chance that, John Morant could be in the running for. The Zion question is rookie of the year, but I'm looking at rookie point guards that had phenomenal seasons. And Kyrie Irving, his rookie year, won rookie of the year in 51 games, didn't even play the full season, had 18 and a half, 5 assists, which is less than what both you said that Ja would have, and 3.7 rebounds per game. And that Cleveland team only won 21 games that year. So, I mean...
It's okay to be a loser.
If Memphis has more wins
Rookie of the year is all about stats. It doesn't matter.
No. I'm saying, like, not the rookie of the year part. Bring it into this. If Memphis has more wins than what Kyrie was able to bring to Cleveland and has the same amount of points that Kyrie had, but more assists and maybe the same amount of rebounds at 3.7... That's one of the seasons that on lists they say one of the top 20 point guard performances for a rookie. Like Ja could be in that.
By the way, I'm rolling my win total back.
Okay,
to like 29.
Okay, yeah, but still 29 is not.
Caesar's 25 and a half.
Yeah.
So I said 26.
I'll go 20, 28, 29. Right below 30.
I think we could look back at it and say like, wow, he had a phenomenal. Historically great performance for a rookie.
I don't think he's going to be that good enough of a shooter to score 18 points. I don't think he's going to have that outside shot to put up 18 that you need to do in the NBA today. He's not that great of a free throw shooter, so that's also going to hurt when he goes to the line. And then along with that, he is pretty wiry. He's not really maxed out yet, and defense I think is going to hurt him. So while I don't think he's going to be bad, I think that we're definitely going to be talking about him as a promising starting point guard next year. I think he will not be consistent enough to be making that big of strides, and that's why I have him at 21.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. Let's move to the next guy, DeJounte Murray. I know Spurs fans love him, and for a good reason. He was on the All-NBA team in 2017, unfortunately tore his ACL last year. Not able to be on the team last year, but now he is back, and we have him starting at point guard. We sure about that, or is he starting point guard? Or is he shooting guard? What do you think?
Really? Shooting guard?
What do you think? I mean, 6'5".
Yeah, no.
Big dude.
Point guard. He's a point guard.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they have so many fucking guards. They have Derek White. They have
Bryn Forbes.
They have
Lonnie Walker.
Well, Lonnie Walker's more of a two. If I'm decided between those two.
And they got John's boy, Quindary.
Quindary Weatherspoon. Patty Mills.
He might not be making the team yet.
He's going to be down the G League. He's going to be a G Leaguer for sure. But no, I
is
do
DeJounte one?
Yeah, 100%, because he doesn't have a good enough shot to be a 2. Okay.
I mean, we get everything wrong, so I just want to make it clear.
Yep. No, you can clarify. That's fine. He doesn't have a good enough shot to be a 2. That's his biggest holdback right now. Is he lives in the paint. Like, he's got a beautiful mid-range floater, and it's pretty, but he needs to... Like, this past year, he had to have been working on a shot. Like, I'm expecting him to come out and actually shoot something better than 29% from 3. Like, he needs to actually have something respectable to draw attention out to the outside because... Look, I get it. You're in San Antonio, and the 3 ball is not king there. You know, we're living in the 1950s, and that sweet 2 ball, you, DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, you're living in the mid-range. But that's okay. I need you to take a couple more steps back, shoot the 3 every once in a while, just get some respect so that way when you do blow by guys, it's not like an astonishment, and there's not 5 guys in the paint waiting for you.
Yeah, the reason why I had him where I put him at 17, just above Justice Winslow, Lonzo Ball, and Colin Sexton, just under Ricky Rubio and Pat Beverly. The reason why I did that is, I mean, if we're comparing defense, I mean, this is his bread and butter.
Yeah.
It's him and Pat Bev. I think he's got the edge over Pat Bev just because of his youth, but because he's coming off an injury, I got to dock him a little bit, and he's not the leader that Pat Bev is. So
True.
I think that's the biggest thing is he's got the size over Pat Bev. I think he's got the quickness over Pat Bev, or at least he did when he was younger, or not injured.
Yep.
I think now I just have to knock him back a little bit just because of the injury. How do we expect him to perform coming off this injury, Ricky? I mean, it is an ACL tear. We've seen guys come back before. This isn't like a Kristaps Porzingis ACL tear where he's a 7'3" monster.
And it happened in the preseason last year, so he'll have basically an entire season's worth of rest.
So, I mean, how do you expect him to come back? Do you think he's going to be hampered at all?
I mean, the thing, I know you say, like, oh, it's not a Kristaps Porzingis type of a thing where he's not as tall as Kristaps is, but...
Well, we've never seen a guy that big tear his ACL before.
Yeah, I mean, with me, I think this is, in my realm, I kind of think back to the Derrick Rose days, where Derrick Rose missed an entire season. Of course, his happened playoffs instead of early in the season. Derrick Rose in the first round of the playoffs, but he missed the entire 2012-13 season, and when he came back that second year... Of course, he got injured again, but in those 10 games, was not the exact explosive Derrick Rose that we saw. And that's the big question. That's why I have DeJounte a little lower on my list, why I had him at 24, is he's one of the prove it guys for me, where because he's coming off the injury, are you still going to have the mobility to do everything you want to do on the court? Is he going to be able to drive to the rim like he wants to? Is he still going to be able to be explosive in driving to the rim? Because he doesn't have that outside shot that he can lean on and kind of bank off of if he can't be as athletic as he was pre-ACL injury.
Yeah, but Dennis Smith doesn't have to prove anything. Go Dennis Smith Jr. That guy rocks.
Dang. I mean, DeJounte's game is all about, like, he's a slick player. Like, he is not explosive Derrick Rose, rely on my athleticism.
Yeah, he's not exactly Derrick Rose, but, like, as a point guard coming off of a knee injury.
I mean,
exactly. Like, dude, he is a crafty, like,
run and crawl.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think the injury is going to hurt him as bad as it did, like, a Derrick Rose, because he doesn't rely on that. Defensively, yes. If his lateral movement is taking a hit, it's going to hurt him a lot, because he goes from an all-defensive second team to, above average, which, I mean, there's some drop there, but, like, maybe if he has a serious problem, I think he's still young enough. I don't think there's any issues. I think he'll come back, be 100%. And hopefully he worked on a shot during this entire offseason.
Well, let's move to the next guy that also needs to get healthy and work on a shot. Lonzo Ball. Ricky, you're really excited about him.
No, yeah.
What do you see in Lonzo?
With Lonzo, it's more of like, so because the difference in injury, because I know people are going to say, well, you were lower on DeJounte, why aren't you lower on Lonzo? Lonzo didn't miss, like, it wasn't an ACL that missed the entire year. And also, I think change of scenery is going to be really good for Alonzo. Not playing with LeBron, not having to deal with the LA headache, being able to play in New Orleans. He gets to play with some similar guys that come over from LA with him. And then he gets matched up with Zion. Like, let me see those alley-oops for days of just Lonzo chucking it up, Zion going through the air, and then just slamming it down. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I think that the thing that I'm most excited for, at least with Lonzo, is being paired next to Drew Holiday and seeing those two play defense. I can't wait for that show. That's going to be an unstoppable two-guard attack there defensively.
Yeah.
And the only concern I would be is, yes.
Can Lonzo stay on the court?
Well,
there's that. He has been hurt every year.
Transition-wise, it's going to be something that's super exciting when it comes to the alley-oop. But how will he actually do in true half-court basketball? Because he hasn't been able to show that he is still that same Lonzo Ball that we saw in college, facilitating-wise, in the half-court. We haven't seen that guy yet, so I need to be able to see that from Lonzo Ball. And also, clearly, the big thing is everyone loves to make fun of a shot because it's bad. Is it still bad? And can he hit it from a decent rate?
No.
So that's the thing.
Like,
I answered those for you. Yes, his shot is still as bad. No, it's not getting better.
Well, and with the assisting, his rookie year, he wasn't terrible. He had 7
It's not about the assist numbers, Ricky. It's actually about how the offense flows when he's trying to run the offense in the half court.
The flow took a hit last year because, I would say Lonzo rookie year was better than his sophomore year, not just because he played a little bit more games, but because the LeBron issue added it. Like, when LeBron came to that team, how they ran everything changed, and I don't think it fit Lonzo being in a LeBron team like we thought that it wouldn't be no problem, and it was a problem.
That boy can't shoot. Like, he can't shoot. And that's okay, because he can defend well, and he can facilitate in a quick offense, like you said. Like, Lonzo's bread and butter is touch passes. That man sees, he goes. Like, it is in and out of his hands so quick compared to a lot of the point guards in this list who dominate the offense. They control the pace of it, and they spend, average dribbles. Like, if you look at, no one is close to the Westbrook and the James Harden level, but, like, Lonzo Ball is in the, like, complete polar opposite. Like, that man, it's like it moves out of his hands like it's on fire.
Yeah.
And that can be helpful if you constantly have that up-tempo offense and that ball is moving. But with that team that's around him, I don't know how well that's going to work out.
If Zoe was playing in like a 180-foot court, like if you just doubled the size of the court, dude would be unstoppable because you give him so much space. He can find lanes incredibly. He has such great vision. It's just adding that into the half-court
section of the offense. And when things slow down and when things get a little bit tighter, that vision gets a little bit worse. Clearly, obviously, guys are less open.
Yep.
But I also think that he doesn't trust his instincts enough yet. I don't think that was anything with LeBron or anything like that. I think the game is just getting tougher. He wasn't able to transition that from college to the NBA yet. And I'm still thinking, that's definitely, capable for him to do. I think if he's able to do that, that's a next step that he can even climb up the ladder a little bit. And then he's just in Ricky Rubio level. But he's a better defender. And maybe he's not as good as a passer, but I would take Lonzo just because of his defense and because of his length.
He's longer.
I think that's the next step for Lonzo is be a better version of Ricky Rubio.
Yeah.
Or at least be a bigger version of Ricky Rubio. And then after that, it's, can you add that shot? And then it's like, maybe you're getting into Malcolm Brogdon territory. That's what I think.
Adding a shot is nowhere close to 50, 40, 90.
No, I know, but I'm saying, but I'm saying it's going to help you improve, and I think he can be a better defender than Malcolm Brogdon. So that's what I'm saying. He could be. Right. He needs to climb that ladder, and I think that's what this year needs to be. He needs to show that he can climb that ladder and start moving up because he's been pretty stagnant in where he's been because of injuries, because he's had to deal with two changing teams, two drastically different teams. I think that's what we need to see from Lonzo this year is just be able to step up that ladder.
I do see his assist numbers ballooning this year, though. I mean, being able to play with Drew Holiday and adding in JJ Redick out there as one of the best sharpshooter threes, Zion, those two guys. B.I.
Jackson Hayes
does
too.
His own thing. Jackson Hayes,
that's the thing.
Like nobody's business.
I want to see Lonzo, Drew, JJ, Zion, and Jackson Hayes.
Threes and oops.
Exactly. I want to see you run as fast as you can. Let Lonzo grab the board or Zion.
Fuck, 7 seconds or less. We're talking 4 seconds. 3 seconds or less.
3 seconds or less. I want to see the fast, quick twitch, at least, quick decision makers out there, or at least just athletes out there. I want to see what they can do.
Yeah, ball hits the board, everybody's running. 5 men run.
Don't even look back. Did your team grab the ball? I don't care. 5-on-1. Yeah. Lonzo's getting dunked on.
And I know it's a football thing, but you say 3 seconds. If Chip Kelly was a basketball coach, that'd be his wet dream. It's 3 seconds and you're done. That's your transition.
Let's move now into my transition, and that's going to be Malcolm Brogdon, who is transitioning to a new team. There's 2 guys that are transitioning to 2 new teams. Let's talk about them here. Malcolm Brogdon and Chris Paul, the 2 guys that top our list here, 11 through 20. 11, Chris Paul now going to OKC, and Malcolm Brogdon going to 12. I had Chris Paul the lowest. I think Dave had Malcolm Brogdon the lowest. Ricky and I actually had Chris Paul the same length, or same level at 12. Let's have Dave, you defend Chris Paul, and I'll defend Malcolm Brogdon, or I'll have Ricky defend Malcolm Brogdon. So, Dave, you put Chris Paul at 8. Ricky, you put Malcolm Brogdon at 9. Defend them.
Go ahead. I'll let Chris Paul age before beauty with Chris Paul.
Chris Paul is very much better looking than...
Yeah, he's a very good-looking man.
It's just he's older than Malcolm Brogdon, so he's got to be age.
Regardless.
That's fair, but Chris Paul is better looking than Malcolm Brogdon, for the record.
You know what else he is? No. Better facilitator, better defender, better floor general, better leader. Just a couple of betters. I'm just tossing it out there because he is.
I mean, he also led away Russell Westbrook from, or he led away, Chris Paul from Houston and led away Blake Griffin from
really
Los Angeles Clippers. I'm saying
Blake
he
Griffin,
drives people away. He drives people away.
Get along well.
James Harden and him did not get along well. He also leads himself to the injury report.
He does get hurt quite often, but it's those small nagging injuries. It's not a big injury that's going to take him out. Every year, come on, it's like 58, 61, 74, 82? 62.
And then that 82 year was last year, right?
No, the 82 year was when he was 29 on the Clippers.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
What did he do in 2017, 2018?
17-18 was 58 games.
Okay. And then he also missed the 2 most important games that year, right?
He missed is a pretty important game.
Yeah, so I mean, this guy is not reliable when it comes to actually being out on the floor.
Playoffs aren't exactly where Chris Paul shines. If you haven't noticed, Chris Paul's he played really well up to this point. He got hurt. That seems to be a common theme with him. Plays really well until he gets hurt. Hasn't seen the finals ever. Mm-hmm. Will he ever?
No.
Unlikely at this point, unless he joins a team after this amazing contract wraps up.
Still wouldn't work.
Go hunting for a ring. Dude's a good shooter, though. He's a good shooter. He's a good passer. He's a great defender. Literally, he's like one of the There's a reason he is in the upper echelon of the NBA. There's a reason we talked about him for years being the best player to not get a ring active in the league. He was. Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, do you remember like the early days? Like,
well, it had to be after the first Miami ring, right?
Sean.
Oh, no, I'm trying to figure it out.
I want a what if series for the basketball side of what if the Lakers Chris Paul deal went through.
I think that's already been made.
Where's the NBA at now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go watch that. Because that changes
What
grip.
point was he the best player to not win a ring?
It was on the Clippers, definitely.
It had to be after LeBron won his first one. Had to be after Dirk won his.
Yep.
So we're looking.
So from 14,
2012?
15.
Kawhi has had one. Never mind.
Kawhi won one early.
Yeah.
Before he was even better than Chris Paul.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it had to be that range. But But then KD. Was Chris Paul ever better than KD before KD won it? No.
KD was better scorer. Chris Paul was better player.
Disagree.
I don't.
Kevin Durant was MVP in 12?
He was good.
He was MVP. He was the best player in the league.
He was real good. Fine.
Kevin Durant
is real good.
Kevin Durant's been better than Chris Paul since like 2010.
I disagree completely with that.
Kevin Durant was dropping like 21.
2014, he was the MVP.
Really?
Yep. NBA Most Valuable Player 2014.
What did he do in 2012?
In 2012.
Wasn't he hurt?
Was that the year he got hurt? No, he played 81 games. 28 points.
Yeah.
28 points on
He scores
51,
really well.
41, and 90. He literally had at 24 at 2012 after going to the finals a 50, 40, 90 scoring 28 points per game. Get the fuck out of here.
The best scorer of all time.
Get the fuck out of here that Chris Paul was better than Kevin Durant.
Better all-around
that year.
player.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Hard disagree.
You can disagree all you want, but the fact that Chris Paul had fucking double-digit assists for 7 years in his career, like steals up there every year. He averaged more than 2 steals a year for almost a decade.
Kevin Durant was at 1.5
That's a big difference.
that year.
Over 2 is a big difference.
Okay, but KD was at 1.5 and then 1.5 blocks. So KD was doing it on the defensive end. And he was also the better scorer. And he was also leading his team to NBA Finals. And then the next year, he won the MVP.
Then he became the worst player in existence because he took the hardest road.
Kevin Durant
had to hop on the train and get his free fucking ring because he's not talented enough to win one on his own.
But even after that, Chris Paul wasn't the best player to not have a ring.
I mean, you could say the same about LeBron.
Kevin Durant.
I would.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant was the best player to not have a ring. Chris Paul was never in holder of that title.
I disagree.
Malcolm Brogdon.
Opinions.
Yeah, with Malcolm Brogdon.
Why is he better than Chris Paul?
So here's the reason
Both
why.
guys also don't have a ring.
In my sense, I'm going to be a little disrespectful to Chris Paul. Like,
Do it.
I know what you've fucking done over your career, but at this point, I'm just waiting for you to retire. Like, that is where I'm at with Chris Paul, where it's like, is he going to do anything great in OKC? He'll have like a good season. They may or may not make the playoffs. Probably won't. And then he'll just fade off into retirement after a couple years, unless he gets traded, which I don't know who wants that contract. No, Malcolm Brogdon, the thing I really like about him is, yes, he was injured at the beginning of the playoffs, but like Dave said, well, it's not about the playoffs for Chris Paul. It's about the playoffs for Malcolm Brogdon because he is a matchup. I don't want to say matchup nightmare, but he's close to it with what he can provide, especially defensively. And when he came off that injury in the playoffs, it was like double digit, had 20 by that fourth game. And I can't wait to see what he does next to Vic. When Vic comes off of his injury and Vic's at the 2, Brogdon providing great defense at the 1, maybe allowing Vic to exert more energy on the offensive side of things. I think that he's going to be a very good piece to this Pacer team and be more impactful for them than Chris Paul will be for any team he plays on the rest of his career.
What is your expectation, let's say stat line wise, for Malcolm Brogdon in Indiana?
I mean, this year's going to be a little tough because, I mean, we don't know exactly when Vic is going to come back. But
I think December.
I would say at the least, 14, 3 and 5, 14 points. I know he had about 15, 16 in Milwaukee, 5 boards and then 3 assists. I think most of the work is going to be what can he do defensively, and can he keep that 3-point margin at the 42 and floating around there? 42, 43 is what he was shooting.
I honestly think he's going to take a step up because he's going to see the ball more than he did playing next to Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
He played a great role there, and I think that he's going to continue to play a great role once Vic comes back. But even then, I still think that he provides such a good leadership and such a solid all-around game where I can't trust that Chris Paul is going to be out on the floor.
Health is one thing.
And what is he going to do in OKC? Because now he has to be the guy again, scoring and leadership-wise and defense.
He was always the guy leadership-wise.
He's going to have to take...
That's what he's been doing his entire career.
James Harden was the guy in Houston.
No, James Harden was the guy when Chris Paul went down, but James Harden was on the team first. Chris Paul was a leader. Chris Paul was the head of the players' union for a reason. Like, yeah.
If I look at those past 2 seasons, I would say James Harden was a leader.
James Harden was a better player. Does better player mean leader in your dictionary? Is that when you look it up?
But
better player, leader?
No, but I would say.
Well, that's why you're asking me.
But I would say that I don't think they latched on to Chris Paul that way.
Yeah, no, I don't think that the team's offense flowed through Chris Paul entirely. They definitely had their James Harden's going to become the Messiah and put up 37 points a night and just do his thing because Chris Paul was hurt. Like, I get it. That was the offense they want to run. Chris Paul still had a very good tenure with the Rockets. Still had a very good time with the Clippers. And then you go all the way back down to the Hornets days. Good player. Like, all the way through and through. Like,
It's in the past. He's, 36 now?
He old.
And now we're coming up on Malcolm Brogdon, who's 27, entering his prime.
But this is he's Brogdon. Now on the Thunder. They have no expectations. He can do whatever he wants.
But will he be able to do that?
Yeah.
It's staying on the floor wise.
He could take games off now.
So
like the
I can't argue
load
that.
management game.
So
I can't argue that.
So let me ask you this: you think Chris Paul should be? He's not in the top 10, obviously. He should be in the top 10 because of what he has done, not because of what he's going to do this year.
Yeah, tell me why he's better than De'Aaron Fox.
Because he has a track record. De'Aaron Fox made a jump that not many people make, and then the question is, can De'Aaron Fox sustain that? Like, De'Aaron Fox was doing that on a bad team. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that De'Aaron Fox is going to come back this year when they have more mouths to feed? They've got an even deeper, more veteran-heavy roster. Like, do you expect De'Aaron Fox to continue to put up ridiculous numbers, or do you think those are going to stabilize?
Those are all complementary roles. Those were complementary pieces to fill around De'Aaron Fox. Those weren't pieces to take away from De'Aaron Fox. Those are guys to plug and play into the same system.
I understand.
And just to fill around De'Aaron Fox. So
stats don't mean better player, though. That's you guys are hung up on stat hunting.
But I'm not saying stat-wise. De'Aaron Fox is quicker than Chris Paul.
Yep.
He is a bigger player than Chris Paul. He showed that he was a better shooter than Chris Paul last year, and that is stats, but also stat-wise showed that De'Aaron Fox had better numbers than Chris Paul from deep. Also, I would rather have De'Aaron Fox driving to the rim than Chris Paul because his body won't break down. Yes, Chris Paul is still a better passer, has better vision than De'Aaron Fox, and he is a smarter player than De'Aaron Fox, but I would say that defense is probably the same, and I would probably give an offensive edge to De'Aaron Fox.
All right, that's fine, man. Like, he wasn't that much better of a shooter. Like, we're talking 36 to 37%. Like, it ain't that big of a deal. And Chris Paul was taking 6 threes a game. De'Aaron Fox was taking 2.9. So, tomato.
I mean, the other
Chris
thing
Paul was also in an offense that fed shooting threes from the outside, getting open shots. And he was shooting 36%.
I don't know about open shots. They were just taking threes regardless. Like, there was no prejudice against that three.
If it was open, you're taking a three. And Chris Paul's a smart player.
And if it wasn't open, you were taking the three.
But also, Chris Paul's a smart player.
He's one of the smartest players in the game.
He wasn't doing that every single time. He wasn't one of those players.
Yeah.
He wasn't James Harden.
Look, I get it.
PJ
De'Aaron's
Tucker.
young. He's exciting. He's quick. He ate that ass. Like, there's the legacy of De'Aaron Fox already. But I'm sorry. Like, I'm not going to put him ahead of Chris Paul for one good season.
Yeah, I mean, I also look.
Final thoughts.
I look into it too, and I just gotta fact check myself before I
we don't need this
go ahead and say this. I look at Chris Paul, and it's like, what, two straight years you were, or not years, 2 straight teams you were basically, I want to say, run out of town, because like with the Clippers, it was Chris Paul and Blake. Who got traded first, Blake or CP3?
Chris Paul demanded a trade.
That's the thing.
Didn't get
he
run
demanded
out of town.
it.
He demanded a trade. There's a difference.
In
he
my
was
mind,
done
saw
dealing
the
with
writing.
the head coach.
Yeah, but with me,
/GM.
He also saw the writing on the wall of, if this continues, obviously they're going to move on from me because Blake's the younger player. So demanded a trade, went to Houston, and now again, it's after it didn't work with James Harden and Chris Paul, he got ousted out of town. So it's like, for me, there's 2 straight teams. It was supposed to work and didn't. And you can say demanded a trade, he didn't get run out of town. I think he still did. Gets run out of town of 2 straight
You're
teams.
completely wrong, though. You're 112% wrong. He did not get run out of town from the Clippers.
Okay.
He went, this is a bad situation. Doc Rivers should not have this much power.
Mm-hmm.
He can't figure out how to build a fucking roster. There's no reason to stay on this team. I'm going to get out of town and go play with my friend.
So
and a
if
team
he,
that has the best chance to win a championship.
Okay.
And that's what he did. And then on that team, they went ahead and they were the #1 seed in the West.
I'm saying,
and then they won another 50-plus games the next year.
If he would have stayed on that Clippers team, would they have moved on from CP3 or Blake Griffin first?
Probably would have moved on from Chris Paul
And
if
that's,
they
to
had
me,
not
where
signed
it's
that
like,
contract, because he was eligible for a large contract.
That's what I'm saying. He was eligible, got that contract. Do you think that the Clippers would have signed him to that deal before trading him to Houston and kept him on the team?
Yes.
I don't think they would have.
I think
that was the reason why they traded him, because they could get away from that contract and they didn't have to deal with that contract. They could tear it down and they didn't have to worry about it. I don't think they would have signed him to that contract.
I think
he would have become a free agent.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I still think it's ridiculous to think of him as like an unsuccessful player, because
I never said he was unsuccessful.
No, like Ricky's like, he got ousted from 2 towns for not being a winner, and it's just like, no, they won so many fucking games in Houston. Like, this was a very good team. Had they not run into the buzzsaw of the second greatest team ever, what are we talking about?
Who's the greatest?
Come on. You're in Chicago.
All right.
Learn your fucking lesson.
Let's wrap this up.
But seriously, like, think about that. Houston could have had 2 championships. Like,
but why didn't
the
they?
Spurs could have had one too, and Kawhi would have never left.
Why didn't they?
Because they ran into the second greatest team ever.
No, but what's the main reason Houston did not?
Because CP3 got injured.
Because CP3 got injured. If CP3 did not get injured, they would have been in that finals. And CP3 is not a guy that I can trust being on the floor. De'Aaron Fox, I can't trust. Malcolm Brogdon, I can't.
Really?
Because he just got injured. Did you hear words?
The first guy?
De'Aaron Fox?
Yeah, you're going to trust the 22-year-old?
I trust that he can play. Did De'Aaron Fox have massive injury issues?
No.
Lingering injury issues for the next,
he doesn't.
Past 4 years, 5 years? That's what I was saying. And Brogdon has had one spurt of it last year where it was a fairly serious injury, but something that he was able to come back and play fine off of.
Yep.
I can trust that those guys will be out on the floor. I can't trust that with Chris Paul. Anyways, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Maybe I'm underrating Chris Paul. I think the first one that we ever did, I was like standing Chris Paul. I was like, this guy deserves to be better. This guy is like an all-time point guard. Now, how the turntables have turned. I think the first one I was very much behind the whole CP3 train, like Dave was. But now I'm coming off him a little bit just because, again, like I've always said.
He was number 3 for like 3 straight years for us. 16, 17, 18.
Did I rank him higher, though, than one of you guys? I think... you
and I were both at 3.
Maybe?
And then the one year in 17, you had him at 3 still.
I think it was 17. I think that was the year I was going off about Chris Paul. And then, you bumped him up. I don't know. I remember one of the years I was just like, y'all disrespecting Chris Paul. Anyways, let us know your thoughts down below. Maybe we are disrespecting Chris Paul, but we'd love to hear what you think. Let's move into the final segment, and that is 1 through 10. Again, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Hopefully, we're representing the point guards well enough. Hopefully, we're putting the guys in the right spots. Hopefully, we're putting the right players in the right teams. Ricky, as bad as you wanted to put DeLon Wright to the Raptors,
it's the only one I messed
because
up.
He's not even a Memphis Grizzly. But
the only one I messed up.
I was just joking.
Yeah,
but let us know if we did make any mistakes that you do think need to be talked about. Let us know either on Twitter or down in the comment section below. But Ricky, end it on the first segment of
the first 1 through 10.
First 1 through 10.
So at number 10, Kyle Lowry, congratulations, got that ring. Then number 9, Malcolm Brogdon of now the Indiana Pacers. Number 8, Ben Simmons. We'll see if he finds his jump shot this year. Trae Young at number 8, Ben Simmons. 7 is Trae Young. Michael Conley at 6, Kemba Walker at 5, Kyrie Irving at 4, Brody at 3, Dame at 2, and then the golden boy Steph Curry at number 1. My true number 1 for 4 straight years.
All right. Dave, 1 through 10.
Number 10, I got Kyle Lowry. At number 9, I've got De'Aaron Fox. At number 8, I've got Chris Paul. 7, Ben Simmons. 6, Mike Conley. 5, Kemba Walker. 4, Kyrie Irving. 3, Russell Westbrook. 2, Damian Lillard, and 1 is Steph Skyfucker Curry.
It's weird because I feel like I'm going to get the hate on this one.
Because you're different, the most different.
Yeah. Let's start at 10. Kyle Lowry. That's the same. He's the only player that we had right across the board. But we all had Kyle Lowry at 10, so shout out to the ring holder now. Number 9, I have Trae Young. 8, I have Mike Conley. 7, I have Russell Westbrook. 6, I have De'Aaron Fox. 5, I have Ben Simmons. 4, I have Kyrie Irving. 3, I have Kemba Walker. 2, I have Damian Lillard. And 1, I have Steph Curry. What the fuck? Did I say that right? Was that the only one I messed up?
Yeah, I mean, we all had, 1 and 2 was Steph and Dave. So.
And we all had 4 at Kyrie.
Yeah.
So
that is
5
right.
similar.
Okay. All right. I didn't even realize that. And then that's for the cumulative shocker, Kyle Lowry. He was put at 10 for every other one. He's put at 10 here. Kyle Lowry is our 10th starting
You
point
had a
guard.
lot of hate on the Kyle Lowry train, by the way. If you check out our last video, the trade Kyle Lowry,
Whatever.
fans loved it.
Toronto loves him.
I think he should be traded. I mean, I get it. He's a guy that will help you win a championship. He's a huge, lovable, person out there. It's better for your future to trade him. 9, De'Aaron Fox. 8, Trae Young. 7, Ben Simmons. 6, Mike Conley. 5, Kemba Walker. 4, Russell Westbrook. 3, Kyrie Irving. 2, Dame. And 1, Steph. We're going to go bottom to top here. We'll start off with Kyle Lowry. I mean, he's just been consistent. I mean, there's nothing really massive to say about him. We're glad that he won a championship. He's probably going to be on the decline coming up, but I think he's still got at least 2 more decent years before we see a true fall off, right?
Well, I mean, he changed his game. Like, that's the best part about Kyle Lowry is he has his guy who peaked later in his career than we expected. Like, I don't think not a lot of people saw him the way he came out as a rookie, second year, third year player. Mm-hmm. Like, he grew his game a lot, and credit to him, that dude works his ass off. But he's also learned how to change his game as he's aged in his career to better fit his skill set and his teammates and athleticism and everything around that. So I think he's going to continue to age pretty well. I don't think that he's going to end up taking more shots. I think volume-wise we'll continue to see that decline slightly, but the quality of looks and the percentage-wise should be pretty good still. I mean, that's the thing about him. He's smart. He's an older player, and he knows his limitations. So, yeah, he's here because he's still a great two-way player, amazing facilitator, great leader on the court, off the court. And, I think this is probably the last year he's going to see top 10.
Well, I almost the most interesting thing about him is he is entering a year we've never seen him be in before, because it used to be in Toronto. He was either with DeMar DeRozan or Kawhi Leonard. This is the first year where his other veteran starting mate is Marc Gasol, not DeRozan or Kawhi. And how is that going to affect him? Where, to me, when you look at the veterans, he's the veteran leader on this team now. Kawhi was better than him. DeMar DeRozan, you could make game in, game out, but DeMar was the one for that team.
Well, when it comes to that idea, I think last year he was the team leader, and I think what Dave and I were arguing about last segment, where we were talking about Chris Paul being the leader.
Yeah.
Clearly, James Harden was a better player. Dave was making the case that Chris Paul was the leader. I think it was pretty clear that Kyle Lowry was the leader on that team last year. So then is he
now going to be the... Because part of me is is he even going to be the best player if Pascal Siakam takes that lead?
Siakam's the best player of this team.
So it'll be similar, just you've got Siakam now being the best player instead of Kawhi?
It's different because you don't have a guy that's been there before.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Siakam obviously was there, but he was there because of what the groundwork has been laid by Kyle Lowry. He is a Kyle Lowry understudy pretty much because he's been playing under Kyle Lowry's leadership. Where Kawhi, he cut his teeth under Pop. DeMar obviously cut his teeth alongside Lowry, but he was even there before Lowry. So you look at that, and I think that Lowry now is proteges, and he has the ability to say that, these are my guys now. This is my team. These are the guys that I have seen grow outside of, Marc Gasol and some of the veterans that they have on this team. But, for OG Anunoby, for Pascal Siakam, those are Lowry's guys, and I think that he is now going to be seen as the leader. I think that he's a guy that, I don't think his game's going to fall off like you said, but I think he can probably get into that Rajon Rondo territory at some point where he's a guy that is very solid. You can trust him. He's reliable, but at some point his body does have to break down. We see it with every single player, and I think that he might be, in a Tony Parker range at some point where he can be getting, $10 million contracts or $5 million contracts, whatever he got, because of the leadership that he can provide. But I don't think his body will be able to do that in 3 to 4 years.
But I think right now he is still a top 10 point guard because he is so reliable.
Yeah.
And he's not the greatest athlete. He's not, the best shooter. He's not the best passer, but he is just all around good.
And he's also a free agent after the season, so we'll see.
And that's why he's getting traded.
You think so? Oh, true.
Yeah, because we just did this segment. Yeah. Let's move now to 9, De'Aaron Fox. We talked about him a little bit, but I think this kid's absolutely going to be blowing up. The fact that he's below Trae Young, I'm kind of annoyed by because he's more of a two-way player. And yes, I know Trae Young is a ridiculous shooter, can drop 40 in a night. He's easily probably one of the best three-point shooters in the league right now. But De'Aaron Fox came out last year, dropped 7 assists per game, 17.3 points per game, was efficient as hell from the field compared to what his rookie season was. I think he jumped like 8% in his true shooting percentage, and he just looked like the guy. He took that mantle of being the leader of this Sacramento King team. They were playing fast. They were playing high up. It fed into De'Aaron Fox's playmaking ability. It fed into his play style of playing quick and fast, and he absolutely ate that shit up. He ate that ass up, like Dave said. I absolutely love De'Aaron Fox. I think that now he's getting older. We see how much growth players can take. I think that we're looking at a 20-point per game scorer. I think we're looking at an 8-point assist player. I think we're looking at a guy that can be massively efficient from the field and from three, at least above league average for this position. Yeah. I think that we are looking at the next stud here at point guard. And Trae Young is the next is already a stud. The kid's great. But I don't think that he can provide the leadership yet that De'Aaron Fox can, and I definitely don't think he can provide the defense that De'Aaron Fox can. And that's why De'Aaron Fox is better than Trae Young in my mind. And I don't know why he is that higher. It's probably because of Ricky.
It is because
it is, and the thing is I don't think I have him criminally low.
Fox.
No, I don't think 13? I have him criminally. Like, I could probably have him above Chris Paul. Like, you can make an argument there. Maybe
Dave
a Jamal.
Want you to. Dave, don't make that argument in front of Dave. Yeah, Dave will be upset.
Maybe a Jamal Murray, but like for Fox, I kind of took the Dave approach to this, where it's like, do I expect him to continue to have another good year in year 3, especially as this Kings team kind of grows together? Yes. But I didn't want to crown him before he had, like, last year.
Trae Young.
Last year was good. To me,
we'll get above De'Aaron Fox.
We'll get to Trae Young in a second.
But I'm just saying,
I just think ability-wise, Trae Young fits this NBA already better than De'Aaron Fox. And by next year, for me, he could be in the top 3.
Yes, Trae Young is a great outside shooter.
Yeah.
But having that outside being revolutionized, it's expanding the floor. And the players that are going to succeed from that are great shooters and guys that are absolutely lightning quick. And that is De'Aaron Fox. Yes, De'Aaron Fox isn't going to succeed in the way that people are seeing it, like a Steph Curry and like a Damian Lillard, the guys that are at the top. But you see the other guys that are at the top, like Russell Westbrook, like Chris Paul in his heyday, like Kemba Walker was too. I mean, these lightning quick guys do have an advantage because of the floor expanding.
And that's the thing I do like about De'Aaron rookie to sophomore year is 2 things. One, Dave mentioned it earlier in the podcast, where if you're a point guard, you have to assist. And he had at least 7 assists. That's good in my mind. Whereas his 3-point percentage, was about almost like 1 attempt a game, but he went up from like 30% to 37%. To me,
it was 3 attempts a game.
No, it was, nearly 3, where he had 2.1. So he almost added a full attempt per game.
Got it.
And he went up 7%. To me, can he do, even if it's the same thing, and he's averaging, let's say, 3 a game, can he push that up to the 40% mark? Can he break that 40% mark?
I'd be fine if he
3?
shot more and stayed at 37. I think that's what we're going to be seeing. If he takes around 4 a game, 5 a game, and he's still shooting 30%, that's the true that's the true sign of growth. That guys weren't just laying back off of you. You're able to hit that shot effectively just as a scorer. That's the next step for De'Aaron Fox, is to be able to become not a decent shooter from the outside, but to take a next step as a scorer and become elite.
Add that volume, because you're lucky. He's got Buddy Hield, one of the best shooters in the league. Big like Clay, shoots like Steph. Ring a bell. Wooden Award winner. Put some respect on that. No, I mean, like, this. There's a reason we loved him coming out of college, even though he was all skin and bones. Like, he was, spitting image of John Wall, speed and athleticism, and he's just incredibly locked in on defense. Sean, I'm with you though. I also had him over Trae Young because he is that two-way player, and I see him really thriving I mean, they both do things well. It's just the Sacramento Kings looked like they're poised to take a step to take a playoff run or take a run to get into the playoffs. I know last year they were just short, and then they really fucking crumbled. Like, that was embarrassingly crumbled at the end.
And there's teams that got better.
Teams got better, and they re-signed Harrison Barnes. So we'll see what the other additions on that team do this offseason for them.
Well, I was going to ask, do you guys think the additions of like veterans like Corey Joseph and Trevor Ariza impact De'Aaron Fox at all, being a young player? Is there anything he learns from, I know Joseph being the same position, but even a guy like Trevor Ariza coming in from Washington?
I don't think he necessarily learns stuff from them. Maybe Kojo, just because Corey played with Darren Collison most recently in Indiana, and then before that, the guy that we just talked about, Kyle Lowry. But I think the biggest thing that it's going to help him is he's just going to provide two shooters next to him, and they could roll out two guards, and Kojo can play a combo guard of playing at the two and provide shooting from the outside when Heald or Bojan is a Bogey. Which one, Bojan?
No, it's Bogey. Bojan
is Dallas.
No,
Utah. I wanted Dallas to sign him.
Yes, we all did. We
former
want Team
Indianapolis
Euro.
player Bojan, and the Bogey Bogdanovic. Whenever he's off, Kojo can play there. And I also think that Ariza, we've seen what he can do. He brings leadership in the sense of
You gotta be careful about that because he did kind of tell the Phoenix Suns to go fuck themselves real quick last year.
That's true, but that was because that was a bad team.
Just saying.
But he is a guy that has playoff experience at least. He is a guy that is still effective from the outside, and I think that he could do that, and it's just going to help De'Aaron Fox have guys consistently out there that can be playmakers or shot makers out there, which I don't think they had last year. They had a very good starting five, but they did not have a deep bench, and I think now that they added, they now added that. Bielitsa was a huge part of their growth early on in the season, and then he fell off.
Yeah,
so
he
now
shot so well. It was incredible to start the year.
If he falls off, Ariza could probably take a step up. And Bagley's obviously going to take a step forward, too.
Bagley was a monster. It's like, give this man minutes. And then when they did, Jesus.
So that's the thing is I think that De'Aaron Fox is going to take a step forward, not only because of just natural progression and what I think he can do, work over the offseason. I think this team also got better, which is going to help him on a day-to-day basis. Let's move to the next one. It's Trae Young at 8. I think he's high. Dave, you think he's high. Defend it, Ricky.
Yeah,
you had him at 7.
Well, here's the thing, I don't want to compare him to number 1 on our rankings, but
you will.
The thing that I absolutely hate, and I know he's a rookie, so I mean, you're expecting like you got to get better defensively. Like it's no joke that he does, but I hate how it's like, hey, let's crucify him for this when we kind of don't like. You're not going to have Steph at number 1 because Steph's not, like, we joke about Steph's defense all the time, but he's still the best point guard on these rankings, to where I look at what Trae Young is able to do out there, 8 assists per game, how he shoots from beyond the arc. And I know it's the same kind of situation with Steph. That team is fitting a mold. They have a system. He fits that system very nicely. I think that he is the future of this young talent. And I think that he's going to take a big step this year to solidify himself in this top 10.
How do you take a step forward from 20 and 8?
Just for that, the Hawks are going to win more games this year. The Hawks, if they stay healthy, I think could be like, how Dave throws out Bulls at the 8 seed and everyone goes, no, it's not going to happen.
But it is.
I think you could say the same thing for the Hawks, where if like the Hawks get on a roll this year because of Trae Young, and we see that second half Trae, all year Trae, this Hawks team could win more games and maybe fight for an 8 seed. That's like the sky, like that's the ceiling this year for them. They could fight for an 8 seed in the East.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think they definitely can. I just see, if we're looking at Steph and comparing him to Trae Young, the reason why Steph is number 1 is because Steph has proven that not only is he, this great shooter and great facilitator, he at points was the best player in the league, and he was literally changing the game. Trae Young is going to need to do that at some point to be seen as the best point guard, or at least the best player in the league.
Steph, though.
No, it didn't. But we're talking about this year.
Yeah,
you think he's gonna take that step this year? I mean, it took Steph 3 years, 5 years to make that step.
The only difference, and the only reason I don't know necessarily if it's going to be the same type of step, it's going to be a step in the right direction. The only thing that makes it to where he could possibly take that step before Steph did is because of the visions of two teams, is the plan that the Hawks have set out. They know what they're doing, whereas the Warriors were, hey, let's draft Steph. And then they had to basically kind of cut some stuff in those early years of Steph. And the Warriors didn't necessarily become the Warriors until midway through this kind of career for Steph, where what it was his 5th year in the league is when he started making all-star games. And that's because they had to transition out of the Warriors they were, even with Mark Jackson, into the Steve Kerr Warriors that we see now.
They had to get rid of the Monta Ellis's and David Lee's.
Yeah, they did.
And had to get, or maybe David Lee was after Monta Ellis, but they had to get rid of Monta Ellis to get to the Klay Thompsons. Who's Trae Young's Monta Ellis?
That's the thing. I don't think the Hawks have that, and that's why he can take that step quicker, because the front office has the plan, and the plan is here from Trae Young.
Shout out Travis Shelnick. What do you think about Trae Young?
It was Dennis Schroeder, probably.
Schroeder.
Yes. They got rid of him.
Shout out Shelnick.
Don't need him around town. No, I mean, like, look, he's a good offensive player. Like, I don't know. There's not much to say about him other than the fact that he's short. He takes a shit ton of threes, and he has an incredible court vision. He's paired up with some of the best young talent in John Collins already. Mm-hmm. They added another shooter after they had Herter last year to pair with him. So, like, I mean, all things look like Trae Young will continue to do amazing things, but I'm not going to give him a free pass for his just god-awful defense. Like, Steph Curry is bad at defense. Trae Young makes Steph Curry look like Andre Iguodala, like playoff defense. Like, that's the difference between them. So
yeah, I mean, you could look at the top 4 guys right now, and none of those guys are two-way guys. None of those guys are, Chris Paul height level, where they're playing great offense and great defense at the same time.
A great mind once said, "You don't get paid to play defense."
Yeah,
no, but you
thanks, Jabari.
You need to be decent. And Trae Young isn't decent. Where none of those guys are Chris Paul levels of two-way stoppers. Right. Being, all NBA and all defensive NBA, none of those guys, and Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry are ever going to be up there. Trae Young won't be, but he needs to improve to be on that level of the top 5. I think his ceiling is definitely top 5, 100%, but he needs to be able to take that next step, and I think that's going to be more of a gradual step, because I don't think you can learn to play defense overnight, and you need to be able to first mesh with your team to be able to play team defense and then move up to finally playing one-on-one defense, which I don't think he can do either right now, which I think is the reason why he is at 8, and I think he should be a little bit lower than that, because I think De'Aaron Fox can do that already, and he can play very well offensively, where he's put up 17 points and nearly 8 assists, which is right next to Trae Young's level. I mean, and he's probably probably has a better shot to make the playoffs more than Trae Young does.
Yeah,
I mean, if we put the Kings in the East, I would take the Kings to make the playoffs over the Hawks.
I would too.
So that's I think they're going to be a better team, and I think that's what it comes down to.
The fight for 16 teams, maybe someday in the future.
Let's move down to the number 7, the
Rookie of the Year.
The Rookie of the Year, former Rookie of the Year,
faux Rookie of the Year.
Really?
You remember the rant I went on.
I'm just saying, faux Rookie of the Year.
Shut up.
You want to throw something at him?
No, I'm not going to throw something. The whole rule is he's got to get kicked out. Don't mention it. It's not funny. No one cares.
I said it once. I'm not trying to be
I'm going to say that you said it twice.
Factual.
You said it twice.
It's not factual.
I would say controversial player.
Sure.
In Ben Simmons.
Yep.
The guy with no jump shot. He's at 7. I had him at 5. Dave, you had him at 7. Ricky, you had him at 8. Maybe I've been talking to Jake too much, but am I too high on Ben Simmons?
Yes.
Why?
For me, it's the whole point of, I think eventually we can joke about it all we want. Like, you can say that the way you guys harp on Trae Young for not having defense, we need to, that needs to be a discussion, if not already, about Ben Simmons, where eventually a jump shot has to happen. I know Jake sharing videos of, look at Ben Simmons' workout video of him shooting jumpers.
What I'll say with that is the reason why I'm going to shut that down is just because that is one part of his offensive game, and his offensive game is already good. He's already putting up 18 points per game. He's already a phenomenal facilitator. It's not like he's a negative offensively.
16.9. Not 18.
No, I thought it was,
No.
17, which if you round it up, it's 18.
Not 18.
It's not 18. 16.9. I thought it was 18, my bad on that one. But still, 16.9, you can just round up to 17. 17 is still very good, and he's still a good offensive facilitator. And that is just one part of his offense that does lack. And if he ever adds that, he is probably the number 2 player on this whole entire thing. If Ben Simmons ever adds a shot, he is just behind Steph Curry because he plays nearly all level of NBA defense. He was a little bit worse last year, but he was still very, very good.
Yeah.
And if he ever adds that shot, there is no one that is stopping 6'7" or 6'11" Ben Simmons who can drive to the bucket like he can and shoot from the outside. No one's stopping that.
I agree. I mean, he and Giannis are closer than most people think, and Giannis has learned to add a shot. So I think I don't think it's unreasonable to expect Ben to get, to 30% at some point in his career. I think he's got time. Like, my big thing with Ben Simmons...
What, he's like 12? Well, dude's like super young. That was my point. My bad.
He's not Jason Tatum, Sean. He's not 6 years old, putting up ridiculous numbers. No,
it's 23. Just turned 23. Like,
the thing
he's got time.
Look, we all love Ben Simmons, but we also know like he doesn't have a complete offensive set, which means during the time it counts most. If I can go to the other side of the Chris Paul rant, in the playoffs, he's not putting up 14 points a game even. Yeah. He's out there, they're playing 4-on-5 on offense because if you run him on ball, sure, you cloud up. Well, the Sixers team has obviously revamped a little bit, but last playoffs, when they ran on ball Ben Simmons, they could operate okay, but you still pack the paint. Then you go off ball, no one's going to guard him. He stood next to the hoop and hoped someone would throw a lob, which they never did. It was sad. It was honestly sad. Maybe that's a coaching issue where you don't know how to utilize talent out there, but he was their 3rd best player, maybe 4th best player at times on that team, even behind JJ Redick, which is embarrassing for someone who is as gifted as he is naturally. He needs to spend the time. He needs to get over whatever is stopping him from just pulling the trigger on those shots and adding that to his game, because you can suck and that's fine at shooting threes, but just take them. Just take them. Nobody's stopping Russell Westbrook from jacking shots. He's like, I'm going to be the worst shooter ever.
That's exactly
and they're
right.
like,
or Jeff Teague.
Jeff Teague, same thing.
That's like, exactly right.
You've got the best shooting 5 potentially in the NBA next to you. And he's like, that's cool, but this is my shot. And it's just like, dude, do you understand who's saying, nah, it doesn't matter. My shot. Like, he needs to have some sort of a mentality change maybe. He needs that. We need that Mamba mentality. He needs to go work out with Kobe or some shit, because it definitely worked out wonders for Jason Tatum last offseason. But I'm having too much fun with this. Point being, Ben Simmons is a 6'11" point guard, and you can't stop that. Yes, he's going to be a top 5 point guard in the NBA very soon. Biggest hurdle is still definitely his offensive game, and it hurts most when it counts most. And that's the biggest thing for him.
So that's a point I cannot argue.
Yeah.
And that's a point that if you're looking at, the guys above him, like, actually I can't really make that argument because I don't think Mike Conley's done that yet in the NBA. Kemba Walker really hasn't seen the playoffs. Kyrie did that, but
played some great playoff games. Do you remember those grit and grind Grizzlies taking a first round series?
That's fair. They didn't lose because of Conley.
Yeah. No, Conley's an all-around two-way player, man.
Kemba is the greatest NCAA tournament player of all time. It just hasn't had the opportunity. We'll see what he can do in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
But he fought hard with the Heat.
He did have a playoff run. Yeah, I'll say. He got bailed out by Jeremy Lin, but that's okay.
All right. I'll allow it. I would agree that Ben Simmons has gotten played off the floor.
That's the only reason why I do have Mike Conley above him. And that's just, it's a hard fact to acknowledge, but Mike Conley has been an excellent two-way player for half a decade. And you know what? Consistency matters. His defense is there. His offensive game is very versatile. He knows where he needs to be. He knows how to get the right guys involved. And now we're going to see him, with a completely different set of guys around him on a playoff team. Is going to be very interesting.
And that's one of the things that I also look at is just look at the playoffs last year where the Nets was its own thing because Jared Dudley's an idiot and basically sparked the monster. But you look at that Toronto series, how many games was he under even 15 or 13 points per game where it's he had 2 of 10 points, but if I have Ben Simmons on my team, I want him to be contributing more than just 10 points a game. But there were ones where 6 and 7. It's If you're Ben Simmons, you can't, like, that is not acceptable for a playoff team or a playoff game for Ben Simmons on the Philadelphia 76ers. And I get Sixer fans are going to say, but now he doesn't have to worry about Jimmy. Jimmy's gone. Yeah.
Jimmy's
you
a
got
better
to feed
player.
all those
Jimmy wasn't
mouths.
holding him
Yeah.
back.
You got to feed all those mouths, though, of Joel, Jimmy, Ben, to where he may get more opportunities. But to me, it's what you said, Sean. If he gets that shot, he'll move up on these rankings. But I'm here.
Astronomical.
I'm here thinking, will he ever get that shot?
Even if he doesn't,
in
he's still
NBA
top 10.
games?
Yeah,
He's still
I
top
agree.
10. I just
He's
don't
never
think
gonna leave top 10.
he will. Oh, if he doesn't get a jump shot, he will be the player we look back on and go, man, can you just imagine him with a jump shot? Like, he could have been so much better.
He's only had a couple years in the league.
I
I'm
know,
not
I know.
concerned yet.
And
But
we
I'm
never
just
know, we
saying,
never know
like-
if now that Jimmy's gone and JJ's gone and they really, I mean, they have Tobias who's playing in a secondary role, but he's now the second guy. Maybe we just do see Ben Simmons take more shots in the playoffs, and that's just what we need to see. Maybe if he just needs to show more aggression, and then that way
That
we
would
don't
be
have
amazing.
to harp on at least the shot thing.
He's like the most passive like star though. You think about that,
Yeah.
and you're like, I'm remembering back to the last playoffs, and I was like, oh man, it's like Jimmy Butler learned what his role was, which was like, I'll be the cool guy, I'll be the glue guy during 3 quarters of the game, and then when you need me, you know my number.
Yeah.
Put the ball in my hands, let me do me, and I will do everything I can possibly do to carry this team on my back. And it was awesome. They still came up short, but I mean, they came up short in 7 to a last minute shot to the champions, to one of the best players ever. Like, that's okay. Like, that's an acceptable loss.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to bring this up. It bounced 4 times.
Yep.
Sorry, Jake. We'll move on now to Mike Conley. Mike Conley's not going to this state, but this quarter does have a state on the back of it. And if you can guess, you get one guess on Twitter. You can DM us at Most Valuable Pod. If you get this right, I'll give you $5. So if you guess a state, you get one guess. I'll Venmo you $5. All right. And I just ruled out one state in my clue. So now you can figure it out. You guys got any guesses?
49 guesses to go.
I'm gonna say, what are the most common ones? in
Feels
those
like a
quarters?
Connecticut to me.
Not a Connecticut.
Ooh.
There you go.
I'm gonna
48 more states.
I'm gonna say Michigan.
I'm not giving that answer up.
Okay.
All right. Now we'll see if someone guesses Michigan. We'll see if they're right.
Partly thinks I might be right.
Was that your quarter?
No.
No, I found it on the floor. Let's now move to number 6, Mike Conley. He's now going out to Utah. What do we think about Utah? What do you think about Mike Conley? I mean, I think he's been definitely if we gave Chris Paul the idea of best player not to win a ring, he's probably the best player not to be an All-Star.
Oh, by far.
At least this era. I don't know about past eras.
I don't know about the Dickie Sixes.
Yeah, he's been a guy that's been massively consistent. The only thing that you have to worry about with him is health. But I expect with the players they have around him, Donovan Mitchell, Bojan Bogdanovic, now Rudy Gobert favors is out, Joe Ingles as well. I think this is going to be a really great fit for Mike Conley, and I'm really excited to see what he could bring. He might have been lower on my list if he was still in Memphis, but now the fact that he is going to a playoff team, I'm excited to see what he can do.
I can't, same sentiment that you just had. I can't wait to see him on a team that's actually going to make a run for the playoffs, and not this is not a knock against Memphis. It's just where you're at right now with your young talent. He's not going to just dwindle away the rest of his career on Memphis. It's going to be he's actually going to be on a team that's going to be fighting for the playoffs in the West. Will they make the playoffs? Probably, but that West is going to be loaded. And I can't wait to see what he does next to Don Mitch, next to Jumpin' Joe Ingles, and the rest of that Jazz team.
It's literally rinse and repeat right there.
But it's truth. It's I can't wait
There's
to
an
see
echo in this shit.
what he can do, because it's going to be different than he was in Memphis.
Yeah.
And he might not need to be the everyday, I am the guy, where it's of course, number one is going to be Don
16
Mitch.
shots a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can take less, pick his shots, maybe facilitate a little bit more to Jumpin' Joe and Don Mitch.
No, I mean, that offense is going to have incredible ball movement, because you have basically 3 guys out there with guard skills and just some amazing shooters. So
And Bojan.
And Bojan Bogdanovic, who's low-key one of our heroes of the show, I think.
Is there a way for Mike Conley to move up, or is Mike Conley hit his peak?
This is peak.
Is this, as the rewatchables say, apex mountain of Mike Conley?
Unless Kemba tanks. Unless Kemba has a bad year in Boston. That's literally the only way I think he moves up, is if a Brody or Kemba.
Thank you. That's
play
the
West.
name that's falling.
Okay.
Is Brody. Kemba Walker is going to a system that's going to let him thrive. God damn it. Russell Westbrook's gonna play with a leech.
I was gonna say, like, you're gonna see 2 triple-doubles on one team. What are you talking about?
In a single game.
I can't wait for Jason Tatum
There's
and
gonna be a
Kemba Walker
20
to have 2 triple doubles. I had to get it in there. They're gonna retire Enos Cantor's number.
Sure, it's not going to be Steph and D'Lo.
No.
Definitely not that.
Yikes.
But no, Conley's this is going to be one of the best teams he's lined up with. Yeah, he's 31. He's still the twilight of his prime, basically. So I expect really good things from him this year. I don't think he can get much better as a player.
Biggest question.
Yeah,
You expect big things.
I do.
Do you expect all-star things?
No.
He's not an all-star
No.
still.
I mean, look how many all-star guards there are. Like, yes, we might say he's the 6th best player or 5th best player.
Yeah.
6, right? We have a
Six
yeah.
best point guard.
Yeah, he's not 6th most popular point guard.
We got 4 right now. Four guys
But
they're above him. Steph,
thing-
Dame, Russell. He is the 4th guy. So he's the 4th guy in the Western Conference, at least for point guards. Probably putting James Harden above him.
Oh, yeah.
Probably putting Clay. But Clay won't be there. 'Cause
Clay
will be injured.
and
Clay be injured.
Durant is on the east side now.
Yeah,
But
so
that's
Clay
2
will be
guys
injured.
that are going to be injured this year where their spots open up.
No.
Holes. Never know.
Probably not.
Maybe Donovan Mitchell has a down season.
Maybe a pity vote for him.
Mike Conley has like 20, 20
If
points.
Devin Booker doesn't make an All-Star game this year, then Mike Conley's not making an
I'm
All-Star game
thinking,
this year.
what if Utah?
But Kawhi
what if
comes over from
what if,
the east,
What if
so
those
he'll take
rabid
Clay's
Salt
spot.
Lakeans just go all out and just waste all their broadband?
It would be on
I'm
Joe
voting
Ingles.
for.
They would vote Joe Ingles.
No,
they vote
Australia.
Donovan.
Australia would. Now Mike Conley's got Memphis and Utah.
Well,
Oh.
hey,
He didn't burn any bridges.
That's true. He didn't. He's still
Maybe even
beloved.
Toronto will help him out.
you know what's really bad for the Western All-Star spots?
What's that?
It's like, so Clay and Durant move on, right? They're not going to be there.
And Luka
But
gets
then-
subbed in.
Yeah, well, not just Luka gets subbed in. Kawhi is now in the West.
Yeah.
D'Lo, I don't think he's going to be an All-Star this year because he's on Golden State.
Maybe.
But he
He
moves
might score
over
a stupid amount of
to the
points.
West to where it's like, hey, maybe the Eastern Conference has some more All-Stars that we haven't seen. 'Cause
Trade Mike
spots
Conley
open up.
to the East. Let's move to number 5, an all-star in his own right. Kemba Walker, my favorite player, probably not named Luka Doncic. I don't know.
Kemba.
I'd have to come up with Jokic.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So not a foreign.
Jokic is your favorite current, right? Like all-time favorite current.
as he wears the
Current
Nuggets
player.
hat because of Jokic. Yeah.
He's like your number
All-time
one. Yeah,
current
he's your
favorite
number
player. That
one.
makes-
I should say number one
Current
on your
player.
list. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, current
Yeah.
player, yes. Dirk's number 1 all-time.
Yep.
So outside of Eastern European
We talked about
players,
this. Sean likes.
Walker's
Sean really
number
likes
one.
tall white guys.
Jokic,
Kangs.
Dirk, Doncic, Stojakovic. Those are probably my top 4.
Yep.
And then Kemba's 5.
You must be this tall to be on Sean's list, and from Europe.
You must be a 6'7" German / Serbian / what is Luka? Slovakian?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I think
should
you're right.
know. I really should.
But Kemba Walker, who is not Slovakian,
Yep.
is number 5. I honestly think that he could be
Yeah.
3 at the end of the season.
Slovenia.
Slovenian, not Slovakia. That's a different place.
Yep.
But I think Kemba Walker can end up being the 3rd best point guard in this league after this year.
He had a really good year.
And he's going to have a better year.
Is he though?
I think he's going to have a more
He
efficient
has
year.
more
and I think that
talent on his team this year.
But
He put up 25 and a half points a game last
But it'll be
year.
a better 25. You know what I'm saying? Like we've seen that in this offense for Brad Stevens, he's been able to plan around guards to best fit their system and to best fit their skill set.
Yeah.
And I don't think Kemba was ever that guy that needed the ball every single possession. And I think that him playing off ball is going to be better. I think that him running transition is going to be better. I think that he has more talented guys out there, which is going to take more pressure off of him and less defensive attention on him. I think it's going to be a more solid 25 where he's just shooting better. And I think that it's going to be more efficiently. And I think we could possibly see like early season Kemba Walker from early on in the first half of the season because that Kemba Walker was disgusting.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you talk early season last year was horrific. He opened the season with a 41. Like, that was just I'm doing this. Then he had a 60-point game, basically, 3 weeks into the year. Just absolutely a monster. No, but I don't think he sees anywhere close to that. I think he goes back down to about a 21, 22-point a game score. This team's too loaded. Like, they have too many guys who can score. They need him to facilitate. They always have pretty good ball movement. I think we see Gordon Hayward come back to closer to what he was, true form, not the shell of himself post-injury and still trying to struggle to find himself and trust his own body again. So I expect Kemba to be good, not amazing. I'm not putting a Superman cape on his ass yet. But he's gonna be probably an all-star in the East still.
What separates him and Kyrie?
Wait, what's up?
What separates him and Kyrie?
Kyrie's a way better finisher and a way better shooter.
Kevin Durant's injury in my mind. Like, yes, I might be looking more statistically with that, but it's like Kyrie's going to have the stats this year just because KD's not going to be out there. If KD was healthy start of the season, then yeah, I might flip Kyrie and Kemba. The thing I like Kemba better on Boston than I liked Kyrie is I think the leadership's going to be better. Like,
yeah,
I don't think
Boston's going to be a better team because of having Kemba Walker over Kyrie Irving.
It won't be like Kyrie's little, like, there won't be those petty fights that are the petty, like, we had a nice talk on the Jet. Like, how many Jet talks are they going to have this year? They're not going to
have Moody Pyramid Boy on their team.
Exactly.
Flat Earth, bitch. Respect it. He's a better shooter. He's a better scorer. He is clutch AF. Like,
yeah, but he's a better leader.
Get the fuck out of here saying Kemba's not clutch AF.
Kemba's playoff shooting percentage is what? Kemba's game-winning shots are what? Kemba's rings say what? That's right. None of that. Because he hasn't done it.
Kyrie only has a ring because of LeBron, though.
Kemba does have a ring. Kemba has a ring from the national tournament.
They don't give out rings for that, do they?
They have to.
They do.
He's like, they have to.
Yeah, they do.
Like, I just remember the trophy. I never remember a ring ceremony for college.
You get rings.
He is
college rings?
Because even like
the most
NAIA
clutch
gets
player
rings.
In the NCAA.
Did you get a momentum
history.
for winning it?
That guy was
that Madison Square Garden shot?
Stupid clutch.
In Syracuse?
That dude could do it. He was just never in the moments because his team was trash. So get the fuck out of here saying that Kemba Walker is not clutch.
I'm just saying, like, Kyrie Irving dropped the clutchest three of all time, basically.
Congratulations.
Wouldn't have been there without LeBron.
You can't.
That's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Kemba Walker wouldn't have made the shot, is my point.
Oh, I think he would have.
He's a career much worse percentage from three. Like,
he's got
much worse.
He's got
no, that's D'Angelo Russell. Sorry. Put some respect on the phrase.
Kemba made it better. I don't know. Fuck it.
Kemba made it better.
Made it better.
Kemba's a worse shooter. Kemba's a worse shooter. Kemba's a worse finisher at the rim. Kemba's a better athlete. Kemba doesn't think the earth is flat. Kemba's not going to drive the locker room apart.
Stays healthy.
So, like, you got that difference.
Stays healthy.
I'll give you that credit. But
better
he's
leader.
Not a better player.
Better leader.
Yeah.
Fine.
But he's not a better player.
Fine. I agree. I don't know. Ricky, give me some hope on Kemba. Dave's mean.
No, I mean,
why is Kemba Walker be the best point guard next year?
I'm looking at it, like, if we're splitting hairs between him and Kyrie, the only thing that, like I said, if Kevin Durant was out there, the stats would be less for Kyrie because Durant's going to get his. But the thing, it comes back to what Dave was saying about Chris Paul, where I think Kemba's going to be a better leader for the Celtics. And that in that case, Kemba is way better than Kyrie. And that is something that I think you could play in to flip him and Kyrie. I mean, I say flip because I've got them 4-5, so I've got them right next to each other. That's why I say you could flip them.
Here's what I will say, and why he could be the best player, the best point guard when it comes to the end of the season. If you go back to the 2010 shot, he switches onto a big, and the big picks him up pretty much near where Kevin Love picked up Steph Curry in the 2017 NBA Finals, and we all know how that turned out. Steph wasn't able to get a shot off because he wasn't able to shake K-Love. Kemba Walker broke ankles, and I will say that Kemba Walker is more of an ankle breaker than Steph Curry. It's not true, but he is. So Kemba Walker is the greatest player of all time that is not named Nikola Jokic or Luka Doncic. So that's why he's going to be the best point guard, and not even number 3. He's going to be number 1. Anyways, let's move now to Russell Westbrook. I had him at 7. You guys had him at 3. No one's going to believe me now because I feel like I'm coming off the rails.
Yeah.
But Russell Westbrook is the most inefficient shooter that we've ever seen. He is not going to mesh well in my mind offensively with James Harden.
Potentially true.
They're going to be best friends, whatever. And he is trying less and less on defense more than ever. And he's also not trying to fit offensively when he doesn't have the ball. So while I do think he's a phenomenal athlete, while I do think he is a star in this league, and while he has averaged triple-doubles over the past 3 seasons,
I don't think that he.
It just sounds stupid to say out loud.
I don't think that he has the stats to truly match what he is capable of. I think his talent is much more than what his stats have been. And yes, that's weird saying with averaging a triple-double, but he is a much better player than what he has shown. And I think that he does need an attitude change to become that player. And I don't think that's coming, and that's why I'm taking him to 7.
The stats will be there, but I can't wait to see this train wreck unfold. Like, I don't think the Houston Rockets experiment will be exactly what they want it to be. And I think this James Harden-Brody marriage is going to end up exploding in their faces, and they're going to be left there like Wile E. Coyote looking at the Acme box like, oh, shoot, did we really just do this?
I'm in a different category than you guys. I'm always positive about the Rockets and their hopes and dreams. I was the guy telling you.
Failure to launch is what this season's going to be called for the Rockets.
It was a B movie, wasn't it?
It was a movie.
Matthew McConaughey, Kate Hudson, I think.
Yeah.
But the Rockets' failure to launch.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Pretty clever.
Houston, we have a problem.
This guy's got jokes.
Too.
This guy's got jokes. No, I think they were buddies from literally the get go in the NBA. They absolutely keep up. I don't think there's gonna be a huge chemistry problem between them because they're so close from a young age. I'm not concerned with that. I think my concern is the flow of the offense.
They had different play styles when they were playing together.
Yeah, I mean, it was Brody running the offense with Kevin Durant, and obviously James Harden coming in off the bench and just scoring the ever-loving shit out of the ball.
James Harden has a better beard now.
James brought strong beard.
More of a man than he was in OKC.
Fashion, though.
It's more of an
they're
iconic
1-2,
beard.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 1-2 in
the
fashion.
league, yeah.
So, I mean, you got that going for
Yeah.
you. They're going to win the walk-in game every night of the year. Keep your eyes on that, people. But no, on the court, my concern is the flow of the offense because we've seen what Daryl Morey has done with backcourts and these, pick and roll offenses with D'Antoni just absolutely, trying to get the most out of them. We've seen Clint Capella on the pick and roll it was unstoppable for half a year. They won some incredible percentage was Chris Paul, Clint Capella, and James Harden are out there.
80% of their games.
Incredible. They won every fucking game. But with Russell Westbrook, with his lack of effective three-point shooting, how does that work with this team? And I don't really have an answer yet. All I do know is they're gonna get great numbers, and Russell Westbrook with less concern on his end about having to carry an entire team and franchise, I think he'll shoot better. I think he was just wiped. He exerted every bit of himself, and what tells me that is his free throw percentage dropped year over year from 84 to 73 to 65. That's just exhaustion at the line. You get to the line, that's him with his hands on his hips, doubled over, breathing heavily because he is sprinting full force offensively every time. Same thing. Defense gets a slack because guess what? You've got to carry an entire offense. Now he's on a team where James Harden can carry as much of an offense as you can, if not better. I mean, I think this is going to work out in a spectacular blow-up. It's still going to work, though. They're both going to get their numbers. Triple-double, I don't know. I think that's finally going to, miss a year.
Fall off.
But I think you got two guys who can put up over 20, have 8 boards a night and 8 assists a night. I don't know if that's ever been done.
Fuck, you're the smartest person on this podcast. That was great. That was really good.
Thank you.
agree with all that. I never thought of it that way. It's a new take. It's a hot take. That's a good take. That's a
All
good
right.
take. I'm labeling that as a good take. That whole time I was also thinking, what if Russell Westbrook and James Harden just start dressing like each other? What if they just come in dressed the same, as twins?
Or
as
they swap.
I mean,
Except James
how would
Harden
we
is
know-
not going to shave the beard.
Yeah, I
how
was
would we
gonna
know
say,
that would be?
how
How would we know they swapped?
Whereas James Harden would dress like Russ.
Russell,
And then Russ would come in with a fake beard.
Westbrook
dressed
grow
like-
a beard.
No, because that would look too Halloween-y,
That's the point.
Yeah,
I think it'd be
disagree.
funny.
I would think it'd be funny if they just came in like twins.
Oh, okay.
They're both wearing red suits.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. I don't know.
All right. Well, I've got an important article from Sporting News in
Jalen
2015.
Rose red suits
Very
from the
important
NBA
article.
draft.
I don't even know.
2015, Sporting News reported Russell Westbrook may be lying about his facial hair. Investigative research shows.
What does it show?
Have you ever spent a ridiculous amount of time looking at Russell Westbrook's face? I have, says the writer of this article in Jordan Heck.
Shout out Jordan Heck.
Yeah, absolutely. Never shaved a day in his life. I just don't grow facial hair. So we will not get a beard twins pair.
So he's the Dave Oster of the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah. Update though, people. every once in a long while, I
those
do
are
have to
ugly.
actually shave.
That's the point.
I would say like your cord red.
Okay.
Your cord red, and I would
Like
say
you said, red suit, and I thought terrible Jalen Rose draft night.
I'd say I don't know what they're gonna do. They got better style than I do. Let's move to the third person, Kyrie Irving, fucking flat Earth weirdo. What do we think he's gonna do in Brooklyn? You obviously talked about his stat.
things.
Yeah,
Stats
like
crazy.
he's gonna go out. Like his stats are gonna be there because KD's not gonna be there yet. And that's a true question. Do we expect KD to return at all this season or sit out the whole year?
Probably sit out. I would sit out.
Yeah, he's sitting out.
Like-
What reason do you have to come back?
Exactly.
I don't even think he can come back.
They're
It's gonna be like a
playoff
whole
team,
year.
But like he needs to fucking recoup badly. Like that's a dude who needs a year off.
Yeah, I think the only way he does come back is if he's able to play in the finals. If they make it to the finals, and I don't even think he'd be able to be fully healthy for that.
Yeah, and then God forbid, what
God
would the
forbid
odds
it happens again.
Yeah, seriously,
Yeah.
you come back early again against doctor's wishes, and there you go.
Yeah, there's no way I see that happening. How is he going to fit better than D'Lo though on that team?
He is a smarter basketball IQ player than D'Angelo Russell. I'm gonna clarify the basketball IQ because you know the story.
D'Lo was a snitch.
D'Lo was a snitch, but he's still a good player. But that doesn't make him a flat earther and a truther and everything else that Kyrie Irving has unleashed upon the world. Unfortunately, it's gonna be interesting.
Making him sound like he's a.
Have you heard the fucking quotes?
I don't know. That sounds really bad. That sounds like he's looking to destroy the world, which I don't think he is. The hell he's unleashing on Earth.
He's just questioning everything, which, fine, you can question everything, but don't question things that have already been answered, maybe?
Yeah.
Like
Proven.
scientifically proven?
Yeah.
That's my concern. No, like he's a great point guard. He's a better shooter than D'Angelo Russell. The big difference between the two of them is Kyrie Irving, when he initiates contact, he actually gets to finish. D'Angelo Russell doesn't get the calls. He didn't have that like superstar or genre around him. So like refs don't give him the benefit of the doubt. He did not get to the line often. Kyrie can live at the line if he needs to, which is fantastic. And shot selection is a big difference between the two of these guys as well. So I expect to see better shooting, better scoring. And then the big question is like, all right, by chance we're gonna be able to see them go 3 wide with Spence and Karis LeVert. Because that's something that did not work at all. When you had D'Angelo Russell out there, you did not get the best out of them when you played those two other guys or a combination of them. Like they really struggled. They need to separate Spence and D'Lo to get the best results. So I think Kyrie Irving will be better in that lineup with those 3 guys if they decide to go small. But at the same time, you still got Joe Harris out there as an amazing spacer. Like you got options on that team.
How good can the Nets be?
With me, I kind of think they're going to be, if at best,
You can give me a range.
they're the 4th. They're between 4 and 6 in my mind. Like 6 is low, 4 is high.
Yeah.
I don't think they get out of the first round. Like I think that they'll be more towards that 5-6, get beat by the 3-4, depending on who it is, Boston, Philly, Toronto, whatever you may see it. And then it's going to be like, oh, it's okay. We're getting KD back next year.
Give me Karis LeVert growth. That's what I want to see. I want to see him be healthy all year, and how good can he be when he's healthy all year? Like we got to see a little bit up front and then a little bit at the end in the playoffs, and it's like, dude, this guy can absolutely ball.
I would absolutely laugh if it was a situation where it's like they have a catastrophically bad year because of Kyrie. And it's like, well,
I'd
great.
love it.
Heading into Durant coming back, what do we
absolutely love it.
expect?
I'd eat that shit up. Let's
Why
move to
are you
the
so
final two
negative?
guys, and let's get into the final stages of this. And I think we can do this fairly quickly because these are 2 guys that we know. These are 2 guys that there's not really 2 controversies around. Damian Lillard. I think the big question. You can give me yes or no. You can go into it a little bit if you want. Is there a possibility that Damian Lillard becomes the best point guard in the league?
Is Steph Curry healthy?
That's
Is
the
it-
question.
No. That's
Would
Is
that
that
be
your
your
qualifier?
answer? Would that be your answer?
If
Answer
Steph-
it however you want.
If Steph Curry is healthy, no. Damian Lillard is not the best point guard in the league.
No,
because
can he become it?
Not if Steph is healthy.
Okay.
If Steph is not healthy and like gets riddled with injuries, yeah, he could be the best point guard then. Because I honestly think that the Damian Lillard we saw in the playoffs, especially that OKC series, is Damian Lillard at his best. And if he's playing like that, he's right up there in that kind. Like,
do you think
he's
do
that
you think he can
conversation
reach
of
that
number
best
2.
though, like consistently? Because that's the first time we've seen that level that insane level of Damian Lillard and at a consistent level in the playoffs?
It's not the absolute first. Like we saw that. I think it was the Dwight Howard Rockets. We saw that same type of mentality, but it's like what Dave was saying Kemba doesn't have. Or was it Kemba? One of the ones with the Mamba mentality. Ben Simmons with the Mamba mentality.
Dude definitely doesn't have Mamba mentality.
Like Damian has it.
Piss cold.
And like that's the thing of, are the Blazers going to be in that position to have him have that mentality come out? Now he's got CJ next to him, which helps out a lot. But I think that last year, if he continues to be more consistent, last year kind of proved that, yeah, Damian Lillard is the second best point guard in the league. He literally not just ended OKC's season, he ended their duo, and he moved Paul George out of town.
Yeah. Real quick, I just want to.
He sent them into
restate how stupid it was, his 6-game run to start that playoff whole thing from OKC's first 5 games in the Denver game. 40 minutes a game, 22 shots per game, 47.8% from the field, 11 threes a game, 45% from the field, 8.7 attempts per game from the line, 84.6% on those, 6 assists, 2.2 steals, 34 points. How the fuck did James Harden score 36 in a season? Those are insane numbers, and that was only 6 games.
Gets slept on by y'all motherfuckers.
Insane.
Giannis MVP.
I voted him as MVP.
Giannis MVP, baby.
He was my MVP last year.
Wet boy every week.
Anyway,
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Steph Curry. Can he return to MVP Steph now that Kevin Durant's gone, but also the loss of Klay Thompson? Do we expect MVP Steph to be in full force this year?
I think you got to play careful. Like, this is a guy who has been riddled with injuries throughout his entire career. You know, if he can go out there and ball out and they look like a, mid-tier playoff team, let him go. Let him play. He absolutely can. Adding D'Angelo Russell, I think everybody's hating on the move. I still think it's a decent move. It gives them another guy who could take the offensive scoring load off of him. We don't expect Draymond Green to do that, even though he just re-signed for some more money. Extend that contract out. Nice job, Draymond. I just don't know what the value is of him going and playing, 36 minutes a night on a team that really doesn't have championship expectations put on them this year. I could be wrong. They could come out the gates and look fucking fantastic, though. And I don't want to look like an asshole when that happens. So I'm going to say, if this team is looking like they're going to be pushing for a deep playoff run, let him keep playing. Like, I think it's let him tell you when he's ready, because that's the thing with Steph is his ankles, he knows before everybody else knows when they're getting fucking shaky, when he doesn't feel it, when something's off. Yeah. Like, he's got to be the guy, and he's got to be honest, which I know it's hard as a player because every player wants to go out and wants to keep playing. Shit, Klay Thompson injured, and he's like, let me back in. I'm good to go. I'm good to play. And you see him jumping around, bouncing around.
Took his foul shots.
Took his foul shot. And then everybody's like, he's able to come back, and that's so smart of him that way he can get sub back in the game if it goes to OT. And then it's like, dude, you're fucking done. Like your entire next season is done. What are you doing out there?
The foul shots were exactly that, where I don't think it was a, like, oh, I'm good, keep me in. It's like a, hey, take the foul shots in case you are good, then you can come back.
No, but I mean, there's the balls on him. You saw him running up and down the tunnel, and like,
running. I wouldn't have guessed he tore his ACL.
He's like, I want to go back in. And that's the thing. Like, when you're in the playoffs in that mode, I get it. But like, Steph Curry, you got to take the hard decision sometime. If you're not feeling it, just admit it.
Can Steph win MVP, Ricky, this year?
No. And he can. I don't think he will, because I don't think he's going to go like...
Ken Birch can win MVP. Obviously, anyone can.
Yeah, he's not going to go like balls to the wall. Like, he's going to play smart, and he's going to know that, like, hey, you know what? I don't have to overexert myself. If this is a year where we don't get the number 1 seed, like, we're missing Klay, so I mean, they're going to be competitive, but it's kind of like, I don't want to say a lost season, but almost a lost season for them. To me, the most important part for the Warriors is I can't wait to see what they get for D'Angelo Russell. Because like I was talking to Mike 2K on Twitter today, because he asked about the Draymond thing. I said that I could look for the Warriors to get a kind of a guy to fit that Iggy role of like, hey, this is a starter guy who would start on some other teams, but might come off the bench on the Warriors.
6
and
months
draft
away
picks.
from that.
Yeah, I know. Like that's what I'm
from
looking
that even
at,
being a possibility.
to where I'm not looking at the Warriors season being like a Steph Curry MVP.
Let's
year.
see how D'Angelo Russell plays with them.
I've got one question for you guys.
Yep.
If what we talked about in the first segment of tonight is true, and LeBron James is going to run the one
He is
as
the
a
best.
true
He is
point
the best
guard,
point guard in the league.
is he the best?
Yes.
He's number 2 for me. He's not a true point guard. He's a point forward. He is a point forward, so he's the number 2. Steph is number 1.
Who's a better player?
Overall,
Yes.
I would say LeBron James. but
What's
he's
the
not a
difference
point
of the?
guard.
What is the difference? What's the difference?
He's not a point guard.
What is that difference? What does that mean?
He's not gonna. I could do the John of like he's not gonna guard point
I
guard.
would almost question if
He's
he
not
could
a
guard
guard.
point guards better than Steph.
I honestly think
he's
he could
not a
point
guard. He
guards.
is a forward. So he's a point forward, not a point guard. And they have point like
He's the best player.
and
in the
they
league.
have point guards on that team that they can play. The Ben Simmons one I give leniency to because people can say, yeah, well, he's a point forward, but they don't have any point guards that you want to put out there over Ben Simmons.
Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, whether it be about any of the 10 guys we talked about or the guy that possibly could be at number 1 or number 2 if it was Ricky's rankings.
Last question I have. Who wins Christmas Day, Lakers or Clippers?
Doesn't matter. It's
No?
4 months away.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
Could
We'll
be
talk
the
about it
that
then.
could be the marquee they're saying for Christmas. That's the breaking news right now.
I mean, I think.
Sean, just keep making
What
noises.
was, what was that? I think the Suns beat the Warriors one year. It doesn't. It's
Okay.
40 months away from a game we don't even know who's playing in. Let us know what you think down below. Who's better, Steph or LeBron? If it's point guard, LeBron, or any of the 10 guys that we talked about. Also, let us know about the guys that we put in this 30 rankings, the 30 players that we used, and
Are we sleeping on
give us your
Terry
things.
Rozier?
Are we sleeping on
Is he
Terry
going
Rozier?
to blow it up for the Hornets this
That's
year?
the big. We should name the podcast as the Fast Break Podcast. Are we sleeping on Terry Rozier?
Yeah.
Let us know down below in the comments who you sleeping on and are you sleeping on Terry Rozier. But that's going to do it as the camera runs out of battery. For Dave Oster, for Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson. We'll see you next time.